Hello everyone and welcome to the Keystone Masters Gauntlet Day number 1, sponsored by HyperX. We've got 8 teams ready to go, ready to compete against each other in 7 rounds. They will be competing in the same dungeon, and after every round, the slowest team will be eliminated until there is only one, and we will find out who that team is tomorrow. Hello everyone, my name is Aicha. I will be your host this weekend, and I am joined with some lovely casters to break down all the action going on in the games. We've got Drapnos, we've got Cyber, and we've got Lithy. How's it going, guys? We ready to go?
Oh yeah, I'm super hyped for this weekend. We have some awesome teams on board, and I'm super curious how this format will play out, because the guys backstage, they put some thought into this. It's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, no, I was gonna say yep, looking forward to it as well. Excited to see how the teams are gonna kind of fare in this new style of format, and see, who it bodes well for and who might struggle with it.
Yeah, do we feel like it's going to be a bit of a struggle? I mean, we were kind of talking about it a little bit before we went live here. Like, these teams, Drapnos, they don't know what's coming. Like, we don't know what they're going to play in terms of the fixes and the level of the key as well. So, like, it takes that element of, like, having to be super prepared away.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the teams that are best positioned for this are the ones that have the experience both on the, the live key pushing and the MDI style speedrunning keys, right? Because we potentially might throw some combination, some mixture of those different levels at them. And so, yeah, being ready for anything, being experienced with a lot of different, dungeons, a lot of different classes, a lot of different tools in their toolkit, I think will be pretty rewarded.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who does come out on top. We've got some teams that, newly formed teams. We've got some teams that we saw also compete together in the MBI. So I think Drapnos is definitely right. That experience is for sure going to be coming into play today. What other things do you think, Cyber, these teams have been doing? I know you've been kind of checking up on them a little bit here and there. Do you know how some of them have been preparing?
Yeah, I mean, it's been interesting. I've been watching a few of the streams, and for some players, I've seen, like, Dr. J, for example. He's just been doing, like, 27 and 28 keys, just, like, getting ready for the great push, playing with a completely different team than what he's going to be playing with in this tournament. And then we have other teams and other players, like, I believe, hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly, but Chow, their team have been going through and doing a few attempts in various different dungeons. And I think that's probably a good attempt to just kind of get a feel of some different pulls and some different scenarios, and try and just get this, like, speed fire preparation, because obviously nobody knows what's coming up. Nobody knows what the dungeons are going to be or the affixes, except for the one Overmind who is planned this whole tournament. So it's going to be exciting to see how that works out.
Yeah, huge shout out to Keystone Masters as well as Diablos for putting this tournament on. I'm really excited to get this one going. I think the players are excited as well. But yeah, Sai is right. Like, we don't know what is going on either. Like, we don't know what we're about to see in terms of the dungeon. So, the admin, Sierra was like, hey, like, do you want us to share what you're going to see? But I think all of us on the desk were like, nah, we want to be surprised as well with those guys, Lithy.
Oh yeah, definitely. It kind of adds a nice level of spice to it if you don't know what's coming up, and so you have a lot more to talk about and kind of dive into the depths of. And I know Drapnos has prepared some really cool stuff for us when we get to that later on, in terms of what teams actually could pull and how certain affixes impact certain dungeons. So I'm super curious what's going to be on the plate, and yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Well, let's take a look at yesterday's scores and where these guys did end up in terms of times, and we can kind of get a little bit of a preview of maybe what we're going to be seeing in terms of times here for this next dungeon that we've got coming out. This is Halls of Atonement here, and we can see those times as well, Drapnos.
Yeah, this was one of our qualifying runs yesterday. We had, like, all the teams come in that were interested in competing, and then we cut to a top 16, and then we did another dungeon. We cut to a top 8. These are our top 8 teams that have made it. Actually, this might not even be our. Some of these teams may have ended up not making it through the next cut, but this was the Halls of Atonement run, and you can see right at the top there, the Stiefbruders. This is a team that has a lot of MDI history on it. It's not an MDI team. It's more of a kind of hodgepodge of several top players from several different MDI teams. Yes, you've got Now and Gingy, of course, from Echo Raiders, and then you've got J.B, Golden Guardians MDI player, and Dr. J as well there, who's playing with PI in the MDI this season. So 3 different top teams, and Knex as well in there also. So that team is extremely, extremely powerful, and they blew the field out of the water in the qualifying time here. But there's a huge amount of variance that we're going to see, unlike in the MDI, where if a team was 2 minutes faster in a practice run or something, that was probably as close as it was going to get. Here, there's a tremendous amount more short-term variance that is going to come into play. So I wouldn't count out any of these teams in any of these dungeons.
Yeah, we can take a look at the second round as well here and see how those guys measured up once again. Kind of candle holders. I think they've shot up quite a bit. There's a little bit of moving around in terms of times here, but we've got Stiefbrudas?
Yeah, that's basically
Stiefbrudas? And pvEheroes up at the top there as well. So quite a bit different, I guess, through 3rd through 8th place. Do you think that's going to be a pattern that we're going to see? Cyber, some of these teams a little bit better at some dungeons than the others?
Yeah, absolutely. And we know that we have limited practice time. So for some teams, and they're only going to have one official attempt, right? So for some teams, they might do really well in certain dungeons, and others, they just completely flounder. So we might see some real big upsets here. I mean, even looking at the time boards here, and we saw the Halls of Atonement and things. You may at home have not seen some of the players of these teams yet, but there are some interesting developments in terms of some of the players who are like MDI veterans and all that kind of stuff, and very, very talented players have pulled out like shorter or longer time dungeons compared to some of the lesser known teams, or potentially like first time competitors. So there could be some really interesting developments based on which dungeon gets pulled and which affix. I know I personally hate dealing with explosive now, so if I got an explosive dungeon, I would just crumble. So maybe that's going to be the same for the competitors.
I don't know if you're alone in hating dealing with explosive, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, like we've said many times before, I don't know what these affix combinations are going to be. I expect, well, maybe, I don't know. Well, it depends on how cool they are, but I wonder if we're going to get some cool affix combinations here coming up, and we don't know what the level is going to be either. So I'm so ready to go. But you know what? I think these guys can handle it, and a bit of a pattern here up at the top with Stiefbrudas in number 1, Dratnos.
Yeah, the Stiefbrudas really coming in big there with the 24-58 in DOS. I think this Keystone level was it was a 18 for anybody wondering in the qualifier here, and the affix is rather tough as well. I mean, the Grievous here in this dungeon was something that I think slowed down a lot of the different runs as well as potentially Sanguine if that went wrong. Let's do a quick little talk about some of the next couple teams on the list as well here, because pvEheroes, that's Divine Field, and teamed up with players like Herudra, Fem, as well, that you may recognize from MDIs as well. And then Candle Holders in 3rd, that's an NA squad. That's Dorki, Yumy TV, Junkrat, and Chow, and they're joined by Yoda for this, who plays an MDI with Golden Guardians. So there's 2 Golden Guardians players in 2 different of these top 3 teams.
Love that. It's always funny to see the teams sort of, that compete in the EWC or MDI stage, and then they sort of like split up a little bit just to like sort of switch things up for community tournaments such as these. But we do have our first dungeon ready and lined up, and how are we feeling? Cyber, I'm going to go to you. You look. There's some emotions on your face.
So, interesting. I've been watching, like I said earlier, I've been watching some of the teams practicing, and Shella's team, what are they named? Frenchs+Ragnar. They were practicing mists extensively, especially with the bolstering affix already. So I think they're going to pull out a very quick time on this, because they're going into it. They've been looking at MDI gameplay from the previous, MDI last week. And I think they're going to pull out a pretty good time here. So they might be ones to watch. I do think it's an interesting affix combo for this dungeon. Obviously, it's fortified, which is really nice. That first boss is going to absolutely fall over. So it's going to be the question of how much do you commit there versus how big do you go before and after the first boss. So could be some interesting playstyle in this dungeon. Necrotic, I don't think is going to be too much of an issue, really. I don't know what the other guys might think on that one, but yeah, all in all, pretty reasonable affixes. Very well versed with this dungeon. I think a lot of the MDI competitors are going to be pretty used to this one, so we'll see how they do and how these some of the more the newer teams, some of the more amateur teams might do as well. So excited.
I wonder how the players are feeling about this, because this is the first time we're seeing these affix combos. This is the first time the players are feeling about it as well. What do you think Dratnos goes on behind the scenes with a team in terms of comms once they see those affixes in the dungeon that they're going in? I mean, you really don't have too much time to prepare.
Yeah, so this is an interesting affix combo for Mists in particular, and the key level is still 18 for anybody who is wondering what was happening there. So this is a live affix combo that we had a couple weeks ago, the Tyrannical week before this one, but it was Tyrannical instead of Fortified, associated with bolstering and Necrotic. And a really interesting thing for the MDI competitors here is this was actually the MDI affixes for Mists in the MDI Global Finals, again with Tyrannical instead of Fortified, and on a plus 20 key level instead of the plus 18. So the trash pulls on an 18 Fortified, probably pretty similar to a 20 Tyrannical. I expect we'll see some similarities between MDI pulls there, but the bosses should melt by comparison to the MDI version of this key because it is Fortified and not Tyrannical. That being said, I mean, there's a lot of different options when the key affix there, the Fortified and the Tyrannical changes. There's a huge different set of decisions you can make. And if we look here, we've got all of our teams here. You can see that we've got a look at what they're playing.
This is a lot.
Yeah, so
there's a lot going on.
Teams are coming in here with some different comps in mind. It looks like you can see. Looks like we've got a priest, a shadow priest over on candle holders in the top right, top left. That's the Steve Brooders are playing the no shadow priest version. They're playing looks like an Ellie shaman and a balance druid as well. So that's pretty cool. Now let's take a look at what they're up to here. It looks like they're getting started with a practice run. They do have the right affixes in. And yeah, the Holy Pally, no surprise there. The Avengers Demon Hunter, no surprise there. And the Fire Mage, of course, all something that we're expecting out of a lot of different teams here this weekend. But those last two slots, I think there is a lot of different options for. And the Balance Druid is something in particular in this dungeon that does some cool stuff. Especially the first boss, it can just melt that. And then it can easily pull trash into the first trash pull after the first boss as well, which saves a lot of time because otherwise you're just fighting two little mobs by themselves here. This is this first pull that they're getting started here. And with Fortified and Bolstering, actually, this Villager is going to be a big problem if they don't phase it quickly, which they have. So yeah, I mean, this is going to be cool to see what teams are up to. I wonder if any teams are going to try changing their comps or if they're all just going to go with one, because they do have 30 minutes of practice time now. Yeah.
The big surprise for me on that team is actually Jay not playing mage. So that's something I've legit not seen in quite a while.
I do wonder about that one.
Setting.
I was thinking between, they get Jay onto the team and they're like, hey, Jay, you want to come play with us? We're going to be doing the KSM. And he's like, yeah, sure, man. I'll load up the mage. I'll get it ready. I'm going to be jumping on that fire. And then about that. We already have a fire mage. Do you mind going Ellie? No, but apparently he's very comfortable on the Ellie and very happy to do so. So I'm sure that was a easy enough conversation for them now. But we're on with 4 Danes and 1 Swede, and they're in a very similar, or seem to be in a very similar situation to where we just left off with. I wanted to say Echo there for a second, but with the Stief Brothers, and they're running the same comp actually as well, which is interesting. They must have had the word out that this is a pretty solid comp for this dungeon in particular. And what's interesting is they didn't pull these first 2 mobs here before the boss, these just bow breakers with the previous pack. You do see that is often a pull that is tried to condense together. So we'll see as the practice time goes on, whether they look to optimize that or whether they're just looking to, go in, get a clean run, see where their time's at, and then go from there. Because you got to remember, these players don't have long to practice these runs. So it really comes down to how much do we want to commit to learning that first pull compared to how much do we just want to get to the end of the dungeon. So it's going to be interesting to see how the teams develop on that one.
Yeah, I'm a bit curious about the whole thing. So if we for comparison, Dratnos already mentioned it, the grand finals for the MDI was a plus 20 Mists with the same affixes, and one of the best runs there was around, I think 14 minutes something, 40 minutes 30, 40. And in general, with the practice time we have currently, you can basically fit in, if you're a really, really good team, about 2 full runs. So it's really going to be interesting to see what teams are opting for, which part they want to practice, because I don't really think you need too much practice in the maze. So are you really going for just a few pulls on the start of the dungeons, or are you going for some more pulls on the later half, the trash after the second boss? It's going to be interesting to see. And Zintru sadly keeling over here for a moment, so that Boomkin not melting the first boss.
Yeah, really sad to see the Boomkin death on this first boss. But like we say, this is the first practice. You know, it is weird being in this format where they actually have this practice time, because you see a death come out and you think, oh no, the run's over. But then you think, oh wait, actually that's fine, because it's, you know, they got time and they can just kind of play it out and see what happens. But I was actually watching Demon Hunt there, the tank on the side of Four Danes, and when they were, just before they pulled the Pride, when on that last bow breaker, he was at sub 5k health for like 10 seconds. I was just watching his health just barely, you know, held on there, because the whole team were just greeting all their offensive cooldowns, and the healer as well, Kryses, there was just holding on to everything, trying to make sure that they've got as much DPS as possible for this boss. They weren't able to one-phase it. I think that was down to obviously having the death there on the side of Zintru, and obviously when your Balanced Druid goes down, that's your battle res. So now they've got to get an engineering res, and you got to get Billy to run on over there. And, oh, Billy, can you get me up? And they've got to, you know, stand and cast this long engineering res, and it's a whole big deal. But I don't know if any of their players are named Billy IRL, but Billy's my go-to, that's for sure. Billy's always making mistakes. But yeah, so they're going to go out, they're going to reset the dungeon here. So they're clearly happy with that first initial sequence up to the first boss. They absolutely want to one-phase the boss on an 18 mists, on a fortified setting. Ingra needs to go down in one phase, so they know that they can do it. They just do it cleanly now with no death. No point wasting any more time. Bada bing, bada boom. They're going to go out and reset, and be interested to see where the other teams are at currently as well. I'm sure we will do some jumping around at some point, but yeah, go ahead, Lithy.
The big question for me there, Psy, does Billy play Feral?
You know what? Billy must do, because he's just in there. He's depleting my keys. He's acting a fool. He's just, you know, he's just causing a ruckus, that's for sure. One thing that was interesting for me, and we've got French's team here, which is we're seeing, again, the same comp with the Balanced Druid, with the Fire Mage, with Vengeance, Holy Pally, and what one did I miss? The Ellie Shaman there. You know the rhythm, all right? They're like the you know, they're just set in stone at this point, but I was really interested. One of the teams are running a Hunter, and I don't know which team it is. Oh,
there it is.
As if by magic, Ramfam on the Hunter. I want to know.
He's marksman. Who asked, you know?
He's marksman. I was really hoping we were going to see a Survival Hunter, because I genuinely feel Survival Hunter would blast in this key. Don't tell any of the teams. Don't let them in on the secret. But in this setting, in Fortified Mist, it's juicy. But
so you're obviously saying that because you've been playing a bunch of Survival Hunter recently.
I've been playing a bunch of Survival.
Yeah, well, for you, what are the advantages of Survival Hunter? What does Survival Hunter bring to these?
Well, Survival Hunter players, they get chicks. That's the deal. They get chicks, and like,
what?
Okay, I didn't know I was gonna get called out on this.
Please tell me how that converts.
Well, I play Survival, and I have a girlfriend, so I don't know. Checkmate on that one. I'm 100% accurate on that so far. So, tell me where I've gone wrong. But no, I mean, in all honesty, Survival Hunter, it's got really, really good burst damage. It has like just massive AoE potential. It's uncapped on AoE. It does struggle a little bit on single target, but in a fortified setting where bosses are dying very quickly, Survival can actually be very impressive on single target, because they have access to so much burst. They play Night Fae, they play Karain, so they get the access to the first strikes, Soulbind, as well as Wild Hunt tactics, and they can actually do some impressive damage even on single target. But they do suffer from the fact that they are a hunter. Like, they are a little bit squishy, and of course they are melee as well, which is oftentimes a disadvantage, no matter where you are in the game, whether it be raiding or PvP or Mythic Plus. It doesn't matter if you play melee, you might be a small brain. But we do see mode go down here on this pull. Lithy, what do you think about what they're trying to attempt here with these bow breakers, with this second trash pack here? Do you think it's I mean, it's quite a feisty one, isn't it? What do they have to be careful of in that pull?
Well, it's definitely spicy. So they went for the mushrooms first to get the nice stat boost. You can pick those up. I think it's 10% main stat you get there to boost your HPS, your damage in general. And they were trying to play both packs at the same time to just save time in general. The problem there is that both of the large ones, I'm forgetting the name for the moment, they do channel the smash or the rampage ability, which does a massive ton of damage. And, well, it's two of them, so your healer needs to be really on point, and the other mobs just basically cast a bunch. And there's just a lot of damage going out, and they have a lot of HP, so it's basically a HPS and damage check. So if you kill them fast enough, your healer can't heal through it, and if you don't, then you're sooner or later running into trouble. I'm assuming it's mostly for CD purposes that they want to go through both of them at the same time. Might save them a little bit of time if they can actually burst them down appropriately fast. But if they don't, or they wipe just now, then yeah, that's not really what you want to have.
Yeah, I mean, they need to be very careful on that pull because of the bolstering, obviously, and those bow breakers, I mean, they hurt, like you were saying, with the AoE damage that's going out. They hurt in general. If you then bolster them as well, it's just not a good time for anybody involved. So you really want to be careful as to how you're carrying out that pull and what offensive cooldowns you are going to be committing. You can use 2 minutes, I believe. I don't think you can commit a 3-minute cooldown, offensive cooldown on that, because you won't have it back up in time for the burst on the boss. So you do have to be very careful how you do that. The thing as well, on these tournament realms, you don't have access to avoidance gear. So having, the big AoE damage going out and things, you can't just say, oh, well, it's okay, we'll outgear it with avoidance or with leech or anything like that. You are limited to, just a couple of sockets, few enchants, and of course, everyone's favorite cardboardy boy who can, take care of the dirty work for your tank, who's a little bit of a squishy ishy. But we are seeing a bit of an here with candle holders. They are seeming to struggle on this first pull, but they're just working through it. Dorki, I was going to say Dorki's still the last man standing, still keeping it going on the bear tank, but no, it does actually go down there. And he is actually, Dorki is playing the bear tank. For a second there, I saw Incon, and I just assumed it was CA, as Boomkins have, but no, he is actually obviously playing the main tank there. And now we jump over to Eclatax. Yeah, go ahead, Lithy.
Was a really curious comp though as well. So bear, druid, a windwalker, if I saw that correctly. So not the thing we see most teams play here. No vengeance demon hunter. And for Eclatax, they actually finished the May's second boss and now are walking around the corner. We can just get down there as fast as possible.
Yeah, a little bit of a time save doing this, isn't it? If you actually run around the maze or run around through the maze after the second boss dies, because you have to go through that really frustrating bit of RP for 15, 20 seconds or so. So they actually come and do this absolute gamer move, this parkour, jumping off that ledge there and just getting their, what is it called? Slow fall from the mage from Misty there. So that's really nice and pretty cute actually. And yeah, but as you were saying, Lithy.
Yeah, I mean, this is a massive pull, and Alex is taking some bunch of damage, dropping really, really low, and Bazook needs to pump some serious HPS into him. You can see all the big CDs being popped, the Mage Combustion is in there as well, and especially the Alley Shaman blasting over 25k DPS into that whole pack. And slowly but surely, they're finishing it off. Now the big ones are getting bolstered, though, so the tank might be in a little bit of trouble. The sack is running for another 4 seconds, so he'll be fine. With a paladin in there, no issues whatsoever. Necrotic dropping off as well. Also, one of the reasons why Demon Hunter tank is really, really good during necrotic affixes or weeks in general, if you're talking about retail keys, because you can reset that one with a Kyrian Vial, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Yes, yeah, with necrotic, yeah, absolutely.
That's a lovely thing to have.
Yeah, it is very, very nice to have. It's just having access, obviously, to the Holy Paladin as well, which can also help you in the removal of those necrotic stacks. Necrotic doesn't end up being much of an issue, though it is something you have to be ever aware of. So it's, it's like that homework that you're putting off. Eventually you're going to have to deal with it. But for the time being, you can just throw your hands up in the air and just excitedly push through some of these missed keys on your little weekend KSM event. But I wanted to throw back to when you were mentioning Dorki on the Guardian, and I am excited to see some people moving away from just the, I guess like the expected comp. It is nice to see in a fun, friendly tournament, people deciding to play some things that they're just very comfortable and very, very, used to. And that's obviously Dorki. He loves his Guardian Druid, and it's nice that he's pulling it out for this competition. I am a little bit confused, though, why he's opting to do it on this dungeon. I would love to know why he felt it was better on this dungeon to play with, because with Mitt, like, Guardian Druid is very good at pulling a lot of mobs and then not moving, right? They pop their Incon, they basically become unkillable, and then, boom, your DPS just do damage and everything's stacked up nicely because your tank isn't running a marathon in between. But for Mists of Ton aside, because of the maze, you can't always pull as much as you'd really like to. You are restricted in a lot of these pulls. So I am interested to see why he maybe chose it for this dungeon. But I mean, obviously he can play it for every dungeon if he wants to. It's his choice. So be interesting to see if he chooses it on anything else. But yeah, go ahead, Lithy.
Yeah, I think you still play Bear Druid with the shield braces, right? Or the shield legendary. So
there are a couple legendaries that people use. One's the Thrash legendary that gives the shield. Is that the one you talk about? Or are you talking about the box skin reduction? Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's the one I'm talking about. As far as I'm aware, unless they changed that somewhere along the lines of the expansion, which I then forgot about reading, that shield actually still works even if you have a ton of necrotic stacks on yourself, and that is maybe one of the reasons why they are bringing a bear, just to kind of, still out damage or out shield the necrotic and still have the bear just stand and face tank.
I believe you are correct with that. I believe that the Thrash Shield does persist over the necrotic stack, so that gives you a little bit of extra time or a few extra stacks that you can end up taking. I would be interested to see if he is playing Kyrian as well, or if he has opted for Night Fae, because obviously with Guardian as well, you can pop Heart of the Wild, and then you can just Boomkin Convoke, and it's actually really powerful. So that's a cute little way for Guardians to get some extra damage in. And for example, on the first boss, Ingro, where he's not actually consciously hitting you, he's just kind of AFK getting smacked by your team, then you can opt to use it there, and just some extra damage that you have available to kill that boss a bit quicker. But we'll check back in on that in a little bit. But Eclatax, I mean, they're doing a wonderful job. They are, as far as I'm aware, I don't think their team are regular competitors in Mythic Plus tournaments. They may be, I may be mistaken, or maybe some of their players have, some haven't, but they're actually doing a really good job. They're pulling out some really good pulls and to some very well-timed dungeons as well. So I think they're going to be one to watch. I think they're a little bit of a dark horse in this competition. We see pvEheroes here made up of Divine and Herudra and Lasse and Desire and Fem. Some very, very well-accustomed gamers when it comes to these WoW tournaments. And I mean, all day I've been hearing them shout Divine, because they've just been getting on with each other, knowing that Divine is such an absolute masterclass tank. And I mean, they've been having a good time so far in the practice. I saw them earlier today. They were messing around in some spires and whatnot, and trying to predict what keys they might need to learn. But that's a really good team comp there. Yeah, go ahead, Lithy.
The fun part for me about that field is, if I can remember that correctly, actually Divine Field, Herudra, and Fem, all three have been the main tank on a MDI level roster before. So it's a bit interesting to see just a bunch of tanks group up together and smack some keys. It's really really cool. But
It's actually funny. If I could just jump in there, it's funny because
Sure.
normally in game you're like struggling to find a tank for your keys, aren't you? Like that's the one role
Yeah, I
that's
wonder
just the
why that
hardest to
is.
fill. And now they've got a teammate of 3 tanks, and I bet other people in the competition are like, man, couldn't you like spread it out a little bit? Give us one of your tanks so we can trade. Like we'll give you a DPS. Give us one of your juicy tank players because,
No,
like you
I'll be
say.
keeping that one.
Oh, sorry, what was that, Aya?
I said tank glutton.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're hoarding them all. But yeah, go ahead, Lethy. You were gonna go on to something, weren't you?
No, I was just joking around that, and those tanks are mine.
Yeah, they're just hoarding them,
But,
dude. But it's working for
No,
them.
keep going.
Oh no, I was just rolling with you, disagreeing with you, and
Okay.
we're gonna jump over to Frenchs+Ragnar as well. Yeah, I mean they're seeming to do a pretty solid attempt as well in this dungeon so far. They're at what, a 9-minute run so far. They've got 64% trash. They should be pulling into the boss now, so they're actually looking to be on a pretty solid time here. And the one cool thing with this dungeon is whether you can skip some of the events of Miss Caller here. We know that when she does the guessing game, some teams have been able to like skip the guessing game. But I don't know if people know how it's done or not, and whether it's even in the regulations, whether teams are even allowed to. I don't know, but it's one of those things where if you can skip it, then you save a lot of time and also a lot of potential healing requirement, because these guessing game phases do a lot of AoE damage to your group. So if you're able to just skip those phases, then you're saving time and you're saving potential healer cooldowns and damage that your healer could just be doing instead of actually healing. And we all know healers aren't actually healers anymore. They're just the 4th DPS player. So the more time they can spend DPSing, the better.
At this point, you can't really call the Holy Paladin a DPS anymore, right? So I'd rather say the Elemental Shaman is the healer and the Holy Paladin is the 3rd DPS. Something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I put the Holy Paladin as the 4th DPS, but let's face it, most of the time they're outbursting all of the DPS anyway. So I actually think it goes Holy Paladin and then whatever other DPS you can bring as well. What do you actually... Oh, yeah, go ahead. You go.
I was gonna bring up something you mentioned earlier already. So something that was changed recently on Tournament Realms that caused a good chunk of discussion, and that would be the cardboard cutout of Sylvanas that you can place and make everyone around it angry that is in the game. Maybe we can actually get Dragnos' opinion on that one as well, and kind of roll out for us what does this actually do? What do you need it for? And why is it such a topic with mixed opinions on it? Sorry.
So the Cardboard Assassin is something that wasn't in the Tournament Realm for all the MDI season, but it's been added in now, and so players have access to this, and it's a really powerful effect. It's a belt enchant you can get from Cataclysm Engineering, and it basically, when you drop it, it'll AoE taunt everything for like 3 seconds, and that takes a lot of pressure off of your tank. So stuff like that is something that, particularly on a week like this with Necrotic going on in a dungeon here, I mean, you could chain 2 or 3 of those from different members of your group and just let your tank entirely drop stacks of Necrotic. It's something though that has been met with some controversy because a lot of players don't believe it should exist. They think it's stupid that the belt enchant is tankier than they are. So that's something that it does cause a little bit of strife. But I think it's good that it's been added to the Tournament Realm because it does make the keys more like the live keys.
Yeah, because people have been using a lot on live keys, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah. It's a huge part of the live key strategy, but it's not been something that's been part of the Tournament Realm strategy. And I think it's mostly gotten added to the Tournament Realm for the Great Push event, where they're going to go up to those 28 keys. And those are, very on live. Those sorts of push keys have always been heavily reliant on Cardboard Assassins. In this plus 18 key level, it'll normally be less of a big deal. But I mean, using them for affixes like this can be really big, and it can potentially allow your tank to play a more offensive build as well and get more damage there. I mean, if you look at damage meters of what these Venged Demon Hunters are pulling out, there's a lot of damage there, and there's a lot of little levers they can tweak. So if they can be a little bit less tanky, they can do a little bit more damage, and that could make the difference. Unlikely to in our first game of the day, though, because, of course, you only need to get 7th out of 8 to stay alive.
To stay alive, we're not killing people, Dratnos. But yeah, did we see the full moon come in on the side of Sodae there? He just did 44k overall on that first boss Ingra. He just absolutely blasted it with the full moon, and I mean that's what you're gunning for on that. But yeah, the cardboard assassin. I've been trying to look for people's weak auras as well to see. Normally, there's a weak aura you can get that tracks for the team who has used the cardboard, and it shows you the timer left until it's up again. And I've been trying to see, like, is anyone using it? Is anyone tracking it? Because they must be playing with these, cardboard assassins, because you'd be foolish not to. They're just such a strong advantage, really, regardless of affixes, but definitely with necrotic as well. If you can drop a cardboard and your tank can just use that as a quick second to drop some stacks, that's really, really efficient. And yeah, like you say, less time that your tank has to actually be getting slapped in the face, the better for them. So it's a really, really solid. Yeah. But go ahead, Lithy.
I'm really curious where it's going to come into effect, and especially what Ratnos mentioned, since it's mostly probably implemented for the great push for the high keys. It also finds its use in every other key level, and I'm really curious where the effect will be the biggest, that you can actually change the pulse up we've seen in MDI so far, or in general in that format, where you just pull a bunch of mobs and completely nuke them, and where these pulls are made a lot easier, or completely change, where you can pull an extra pack or two into it just because you have a rotation of cardboard assassins in there. And I'm mainly thinking about stuff like maybe the Necropolis in
Necrotic Wake.
Necrotic Wake, yes, exactly. I'm lost on dungeon names today. I'm very sorry.
It's okay. We're not in Necrotic right now, so you don't need to know that dungeon even exists. That's fine. Yeah.
I try to not go there.
Why? It's the best dungeon. It's the easiest dungeon. But yeah.
I mean, best dungeons. Let's not open that can of worms for now. That's not a good idea.
All right, so I think we are going to let these guys keep going and head to a quick break, and we will be back.
Alright, I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Time to farm some dubs. Crap, I got a squad on my right.
I'm running in for backup.
Yo, Ron, he's right there in front of you.
Ugh. Sorry guys, it happened again.
Damn. This is the 10th one today.
Alright, I'm back.
Someone cover me.
Yeah, I see you. You got him, you got him, you got him! Yes! Yo, that's sweet.
Yeah, it is. We about to win this.
Guys, I can get used to this.
HyperX alloy. Built strong because it has to be.
Hey everybody, and welcome back. Practice just ended for this first round. We're going to be heading into that first dungeon soon. We just saw a little bit of a preview of what we may be seeing in this next dungeon. And guys, based on what we were just seeing in practice, do we have maybe an idea, Lithy, of who might be doing well here for this first game in Mists of Tyrnus, guys?
Well, one or two teams stand out that might be doing really well. So first off, of course, the Stiefbruders, who obviously one of the most decorated teams on the tournament today. They probably will run through this fairly fast. On the other hand, the candle holders on with Dorki on the bear druid, they seem to be struggling a little bit on the first boss. I think the pvEheroes didn't quite get the one phase on one of their practice runs on the first boss, so there are a few teams that have one or two construction sites left in their runs, but might just turn up to be proper dark horses and run through this fairly fast. I'm really curious. Apart from Stiefbruders, I'm not quite sure which team is actually going to turn out to be absolute banger.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of Dorki, right? When you're getting chased by a bear in the wild, you don't have to be faster than the bear, you just have to be faster than your friends. And that's what this tournament's all about, right? We have 8 teams going into this first match, and you just have to be the quickest, or one of the quickest 7. That last team, you just have to be quicker than them. So even if there are some of these teams, like you're saying, who might be, not pulling the best Mists of Tyrnus side, that doesn't matter. They just have to not be the worst one. And in life, that's such a reassuring feeling, isn't it? Everyone's always telling you that you have to be the best, you have to be the smartest in class, you have to be the most beautiful, but you don't. You just don't have to be as ugly or as dumb as your friends. And let's face it, Chow, I know that you're the smartest one of all of your friends, so don't even stress. But
Or you just do a little more DPS than the other people. I think that's how you get a raid spot, right?
Yeah, just, I don't know, drop AMZ or, I don't know, be a Holy Paladin or something, and, the raid spot secured. You don't even have to stress about the rest. But yeah, I mean, we should be going into the official attempt soon, right? So within the next couple minutes, so... Oh, right, we are in them now. These are the official runs, right? Okay, so
that's
we're
why
in the
I'm not talking anymore.
We're in the action, right? I mean, it's just, we're looking at this dungeon so much. It's when you suddenly get hit with the official one, it's, you're not ready for it. But, Lithy, what are you thinking so far then? We're going in, we've got Eclatax. This is actually a team that I've got my eye on. I've seen them performing very well in their, in their holes, in the other side, and then also now today in this Mist, they've been doing some very quick, very clean runs, it has appeared. And I mean, they're doing this first pull now. They've got these bow breakers going down semi soon. And they're looking healthy, they're looking solid. They're gonna chain in the rest of this pack here because obviously, like we mentioned, it is bolstering. They want to be careful about killing the trash mobs, which have a lower health pool, too early, and then ending up bolstering those bow breakers. They want to be careful not to do that, but they've got a few interrupts to be aware of here. They've got the bolstering to acknowledge, the necrotic, and then, of course, that AoE as well from the bow breakers. But Lithy, jump on it, my man.
Yeah, I mean, they're completely blasting them at the moment. Missed on the Fire Mage, just blowing it out of the water with his solid 10k DPS. We already saw the Treants come in earlier already to reset Alex's stacks just before he went into the next pack. Of course, Kyrian Demon Hunter, as already mentioned, he can reset Necrotic with one of the vials, but definitely wanted to save that one either for an emergency or for a later occasion. So the Treants came in. One of the strong utilities the Boom can actually bring this with itself. And now we can see the first Prideful on 20% trash. They actually almost hit 22%. Really, really solid so far. And with that Prideful buff, they'll be heading right into the first boss. Yeah, we talked about it earlier already. It's fortified, so we are expecting a one-phase. If you're not one-phasing this, you're probably losing a lot of time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're not one-phasing this boss, that's going to really damage the rest of your run, because then, of course, you have to kill the simp tree again a second time. Why is it called Simp Tree on there? Is that a WeakAura that changes the name of Jeroma?
I mean, it's the
I thought the Simp Tree was Soda, but okay, maybe I'm mistaken. But yeah, if they don't one phase that Ingra, then they're gonna really struggle with the rest of the run. But we jump over to the Stiefbruders here, and they're actually doing a very solid run. 4 minutes into this dungeon, Ingra's already done and dusted, and they're 31% trash already. So they are well and away going into this maze. Now, talk me through the maze, Lithy. Is there really anything that they can do here to speed this up, slow this down, move it all around? Any pride skips or any of that good stuff that they can be doing? Or is it just take your time and just go through the pace?
It's a bit of a 50-50, you know. You can grab some mobs through the walls somewhere at some points, but in general, you're basically reliant on just nuking each pack as fast as possible, and you can already see everyone running to their pillars and uncovering the sigils or the symbols and doing, they call it the little riddle you have to do. So they should be going from room to room pretty fast. They're doing a pretty decent time as well already. It's like, let's say halfway through the maze at 5 minutes 20 is a really good pace up till now. We already can see, was that the cardboard assassin or some treants coming out? But now dropping some aggro here, relaxing the whole pressure on him with a necrotic affix and getting away from the whole thing. Also, he already used 2 of his Kyrian vials, so that definitely coming in handy for the Stiefbruder at the moment. And with the Pride Manifestation dying pretty soon, they already marked their X, the treasure, so to say, to find to go into the next room. They just need to get out of combat, and they'll be done with this one. And
yeah, and one thing that was really unfortunate there is, we were saying about how they can make up time in this maze and what small little bits they can do to just, save them seconds off of their time. And you could see 2 of their members. I couldn't see which 2 it was, but they tried to jump through the maze as the Pride was spawning, because obviously as the trash pack dies, and just a second before the Pride starts to spawn, you leave combat very, very briefly. And it's just enough time if you're a rogue or a druid to get re-stealth off, but also it's enough time to get through the maze and actually open the door. And what you'll see them trying to do is pull the Pride into a trash pack, because that is very time efficient. And it is scary. It is very scary to do, because you have to dodge mechanics and also watch out for the Pride damage as well. But I mean, they weren't able to do it on that occasion anyway, so it's not too much of a worry. We're jumping over now to 4 Danes, 1 Swede, and they're also putting in a solid attempt here. That so far, we got 0 deaths on the board, I believe. Oh no, sorry, 6 deaths on the board. So they've had maybe a few hiccups here and there, but they are comfortably through this maze now, and they're I mean, roughly the same percent as the Stiefbruders. I think maybe 1 pack behind, 1 or 2 packs behind now, but they've unfortunately been burdened with the Matriarch here. So they're going to have to spend a lot of time single targeting down this mob. one thing that is really nice as well is if you do get the Toad mini boss, then you can actually pull a second one in if you have, say, a Hunter Pet or Balanced Druid trees that you can summon over the wall, and you can actually end up doing both of those together. I don't know that you can do it with 2 Matriarchs, and I don't know that you would want to, because if you do, and one of them ends up running into the other one's Healy circle on the ground, then you just end up into this perpetual fight where they're just constantly getting healed, and it would basically be a never-ending battle there, and you'd be locked into a sure defeat. But they managed to dispatch of that pretty comfortably, and they're going to be maybe skipping that Pride. It looks like they're maybe going to commit the Invis part here, but who cares? We're jumping over to the Steep Rooters here. We've got them battling against Mistcaller now, 60%. We'll see if they're able to skip any of these guessing games, but I very much doubt it. They're probably just going to power through these. What do you think of this run so far, Lithy? What do you think of this attempt? Have they made good use of their practice time, or do you think this is just a few veterans just hammering it out?
I think it's a bit of both, you know. So the affix combination, well, they had the luck to have played that already in the MDI Grand Finals most recently, but this one obviously being 2 levels slower, they were able to try some other things, maybe bring out the cardboard assassin, maybe improve some pulls, but in general, just getting used to each other, since this isn't a team that usually plays with each other. As you can see, or as we mentioned earlier already, now Gingy from Team Echo, Jay from PIME, J.B obviously from the Golden Guardians, and Canix just a fairly well-known, I think, high-key pushing player from retail or from the live service.
Good.
Yeah, he's pretty good. So
he's pretty good. He's done some stuff, you know?
Yeah. But in general, I think they got some good practice time in. They have a decent route, that's for sure, because now knows exactly what he wants to pull, and with that they should be hustling through this fairly fast. And if we compare that to the 4 Danes who have 6 deaths and the Stiefbruder have none, they're about, I think, 2 minutes and half a maze ahead of them. So making pretty decent time now. Already dipping back to
he's ready to go.
cut off the RP there for the moment, and once that door opens, they can just jump through, fly over to the next bit of trash, and there I'm expecting a massive pull. I'm really curious if Jay is going to do more damage on his Elemental Shaman than he does on his Fire Mage usually.
Yeah, absolutely. And a couple things just to note, chat. So the maze is completely random. Unfortunately, we don't have the, same maze for every single team. So they are going to have that slight amount of randomization, but it should hopefully not cause too much drama with it. I'm sure that with some of these teams, there's going to be enough of a difference that it shouldn't make, it shouldn't matter at the end of the day. But also we get a bit of variety, we get to see different maze routes, and isn't that just enjoyable? But I did want to mention as well, Jay, we were saying about the team comp here that we have for Stiefbruders, and I think what's really cool is the fact that, like you mentioned, we have so many veterans here, and these guys are all so used to playing against one another. They're like mortal enemies, and yet it just shows what good camaraderie and good kind of sportsmanship these guys have, that they can just put a team together. I mean, now threw this team together in like 15 minutes. He just went, hey, guys, let's assemble, let's form a team. You interested? And a few of the guys came together and said, yeah, I got a free weekend. So it's pretty cool that they're able to just play this out and just, get into it and just be like, yeah, let's win this thing, and not let, previous grievances get in the way of that. And it's been cool seeing things as well. I mean, you mentioned about, JB a little bit earlier as well. And I was listening to JB on stream earlier, and he was mentioning about the fact that he was hoping that they were going to be 18 keys for the majority of this tournament, because he was saying he's not going to be comfortable playing Holy Paladin in like 20 keys and anything above that, because I think he's just not as well versed with the Holy Paladin. So I think he's very much got his fingers crossed, hoping that it stays at this 18 point. We'll have to see if there's anything, if there's any developments there for him, if he crumbles to the pressure. But I know JB, I mean, he's one of the most mature 18-year-olds I've ever met, and I'm sure he's not going to let anything like that affect his gameplay. Absolutely.
Just don't talk about Waycrest Manor. Then we're all good, I think. But yeah, you mentioned something really interesting. That's comfort picks, and JP not being on a comfort pick definitely is a thing. There's nonetheless still doing fantastically on that run so far, already hitting the last boss. But we're swapping over to the PvE heroes, who are at 11 minutes 20 without too many deaths at all.
No
at
deaths, yeah.
Fairly similar pace with the Stiefbruder. And this is actually a big pull. They're blasting like crazy. Lasse completely annihilating that pack already with 30k DPS. So the Fire Mage looking strong. We see one of the wasps in the background incapped by the Demon Hunter, and before they are moving to the next pack, they'll be dragging that one along. There's some Moonfires going out on there, so we're definitely having some fun. We'll see some Treants come in there. We'll see some Cardboard Assassins maybe. Actually, it looks like they're finishing this one off. Does this? Yeah, this would trigger the next one. So they are looking for that.
They might look to invis this. I'm trying to see if there's a pot on cooldown. I'm trying to look through people's action bars. No, they're just going to commit to killing this. But this is a very efficient way of getting trash, I feel, because I mean, looking at things, I don't think they're going to have to move. No, they probably will still have to move to the other side of the route here after the last boss tread over. But they are definitely going to be dispatching of that soon.
The big thing,
yeah, go ahead.
The big thing with this Prideful is they have now the Prideful buff. They can go into this next double pack, which is mostly a bunch of small mobs, but they can go into this next double pack and just completely blast it without any issues. So that Prideful comes in very, very handy, and after that you can just go into the last boss. Maybe with the Wasp they miscalculated it a little. They thought they didn't need it and ended up needing it after all to trigger the Prideful. That's why they played it by itself. Usually you want to avoid that, of course, and especially the not just in MDI setting or this tournament setting, but in keys in general, because you just lose time. It's not efficient, and usually happens to either mispulse or miscalculation. And they seem to be okay now. Actually not quite getting the next Prideful on a 91% though. So with the last 10 seconds, they're just completely annihilate the boss with the Convoke going in there for some big damage from the Druid. And after that, moving on, as you already mentioned, cross the boss room and grab some of the trash on the other side to finish off the whole pull. Maybe even pull it into the last remaining percentages of the boss to kind of get the cleave damage off and improve the time a little bit there.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do officially have the first dungeon completion from Stiefbruders, who did a 1356 Miss of Ton of Scythe, which is very solid. I think that's a good looking time. And obviously they're going to be leading there with the first place position. And now we've got, 6 more teams to hustle on in and try and secure themselves a spot. Obviously, one of the 8 teams currently is going to be eliminated for being the slowest completion time. But pvEheroes, I assume, are looking like they're going to be taking that second spot without, unless anything goes wrong here. But, I mean, they're very confident in Tread over here. They did commit the Lust earlier in a previous pull, as you mentioned, and I think that was a very good place to Lust. Obviously, on a fortified setting, if you can try and condense some of those trash pulls and just commit a big Lust there, that's, I think, more efficient than committing it on a non-tyrannical boss, which is going to, it's not going to tread over, it's going to fall over, because it's fortified. So they're going to finish off the rest of this trash here on the side of pvEheroes, and that's going to be a very solid, I think, a position 2 coming in there.
It's a very solid time as well, because they are at 50 minutes now killing the boss, so it's just about 8% trash that they have to kill. And I think they might even be on pace with the Stiefbruders. And that would be actually very, very impressive for these guys. So I'm assuming we'll go out at a 1540 unless Divine Field just falls over. Gets a sack, gets the meta proc, tries to kite away.
He lives.
The Treants are in there to get some aggro. Probably every single last one of the Cardboard Assassins is going to be procced in there as well.
They're going to use everything on this,
popping off 25k plus DPS, just completely annihilating the whole pack. 4%, 2%, 1% to go. One more mob. There's the Prideful. There it is over. 15 minutes, 43 seconds for the pvEheroes. Really impressive run from these guys so far. I'm really, really curious how they are measuring up versus the other teams. And
there you go.
obviously already done, so just a few more teams to go, and we're done here with the first round.
Yeah, I mean, and doing a quick scan, who have we got? It looks like Eclatax have finished. There are a few teams sent around. It looks like it's between Who Asked, 4 Danes, and DCLM. It seems like they're the last teams that are still in this, trying to compete for those final slots. There are going to be, 2 slots left available. So one of these teams that you see here, Who Asked, 4 Danes, or DCLM, is going to be leaving the competition. It does look like DCLM just had a full team wipe there on the Pride, so they might just be struggling. We do have 4 Danes here. They've got 19 minutes on the clock currently. They're at 98% trash, so they are going to have to pick something up at the end of this boss tread over, which might just edge them out the competition. We'll have to wait and see. But they're pulling tread over now, and if they can just commit to a solid kill on this, then they're going to be looking pretty comfortable. And yeah, I mean...
Also really interesting to see that they have a 98% trash done, so just 5 points left there before they finish the dungeon. That's a lot less left, and a lot more played before this boss than for example, pvEheroes we just saw, because they went in with about 92%. So definitely a little bit of a mix-up with the route there for these guys, nonetheless. 19 minutes 50. I'd say they will finish at about 21:30. But looking good so far throughout this boss fight. 40% left, and we'll take a look where DCLM are at the moment. And these guys are at 17:30, left with 2 packs ahead of them, and they have actually three packs ahead of them and some wasps. So this is looking to be massive. Oh my god,
they're doing a massive pull.
Insane.
But the one thing is that we saw 19 minutes on the side of the previous team there, 4 Danes. So they're actually at a lesser time here. So obviously, the teams are looking to start their keys all at roughly the same time. But I mean, they might actually be able to get a quicker time. Oh, he fell off! No, he falls off the edge. Oh no!
Oh no!
That was clearly unplanned, as you can see his reaction. But I think he's smiling. He's.
Oh no!
Maybe he's happy. Maybe it was planned. It's okay. They have a few cardboards. They've got some trees. They're gonna be fine. Oh no, they don't have trees. They just have cardboards. It's okay. You don't need a tank. That's the whole point,
cardboard
right?
is basically made out of trees as well, so it's just a better boomkin, really.
Exactly.
And team is still alive for the moment. They're kiting as much as possible. This is horrific for these guys. Oh no!
I mean, the trash is dead. I think they pulled the... Wait, did they pull the boss?
No, they just pulled the Prideful Shaman down, so was just the Shadow Priest left alive, kiting it out, and now the guys have some issue reconnecting with the team, because obviously we saw the tank incapping one of the mobs at the start there that they skipped. Oh, no, never mind, they were kiting around the whole boss room. It's all
that's coming back in.
Oh, no.
Can Chow be the master tank? Can he finish off these ads?
No.
That last little bit of percent. Oh, I mean, they've got percent. They could just wipe. They can wipe and go again. I think they commit. Did they commit an anchor just then?
Might be the right move. No, they all released.
They could have all res. Now they're gonna have to run back past that trash that they could have otherwise dodged, because they're at 100%. So they don't need any more forces. They have Chow come back. He's gonna have to incap there on the mobs so that everyone can pass through. They've got to patrol. They've got to dodge a few mob packs. It looks like it was just DCLM left, so it does look like they're potentially going to be the slowest team. If we'll give production a second to check all the timers there, but it might be DCLM going home on that one. Hopefully they don't have a long flight or too many layaways that they've got to deal with there on that one. And Who Asked? I mean, Who Asked are in Necrotic Wake. Do they know something? Don't, because they're already in the next dungeon, but I don't know.
Look at the streamception going on also.
Yeah.
With pvEheroes. We're being spied on.
We're being sniped here by pvEheroes. They're thinking we're gonna give them some internal All right, the next dungeon is Theater of Pain, okay, pvEheroes? Don't tell anyone that I told you, all right? No, I have no knowledge.
For a second, I thought that was literally like Sierra whispering. I was like, why is he telling us this right now? Does he want me to spoil it?
No spoilies, please.
The funny part is going to be when it is actually Theater of Pain.
Yeah, if it is actually Theater of Pain, then I'm getting fired. So
that was a joke, stream. That was a joke. But anyways, that is gonna wrap up that round for us. Well done to all of those teams. And was that DCLM then? Was it with the lowest time there? I think.
Yeah,
Officially.
I think so as well. Yeah.
So.
It looks like it. Looks like we'll be saying a fond farewell to DCLM there.
Yeah.
That's a tough way to go at the end. Does happen to all of us though.
Yeah, it doesn't happen to the best of us, but he ended it with a smiling face. Did you have a pun, Lithy? I feel like that's the pun voice. That okay, go ahead.
I did have fun. They kind of fell off. You know.
God. I know the voice. I think when you know, I've done enough tournaments with you now. I know when it's coming. All right, well that's gonna be the end of that round. Unfortunate to see DCLM go this early, but that is gonna be how the rest of the day goes. We're gonna take that lowest time. They're gonna get knocked out of the tournament. So we're gonna head to a break, and we're gonna have more content coming up for you guys very, very soon. We'll be right back.
All right, I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Time to farm some dubs. Crap, I got a squad on my right.
I'm running in for backup.
Yo, Ron, he's right there in front of you.
Sorry, guys, it happened again.
Damn. This is the 10th one today.
All right, I'm back.
Someone cover me.
Yeah, I see you. You got him, you got him, you got him! Yes! Yo, that's sweet.
Yeah, it is. We about to win this.
Guys, I can get used to this. HyperX alloy. Built strong because it has to be.
All right, I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Time to farm some dubs. Crap, I got a squad on my right.
I'm running in for backup.
Yo, Ron, he's right there in front of you.
Sorry, guys, it happened again.
Damn. This is the 10th one today.
All right, I'm back.
Someone cover me.
Yeah, I see you. You got him, you got him, you got him! Yes! Yo, that's sweet.
Yeah, it is. We about to win this.
Guys, I can get used to this. HyperX alloy. Built strong because it has to be.
Hey everybody, and welcome back from that break. We just got finished up with our first round of the day and have eliminated our first team. That was DCLM. Unfortunately, they will be going home, so hopefully we'll see them in the next one. But the winner of that first run was Steve Ruddles. So good job to them. Well done. We can take a look at the leaderboard and where we saw all those teams enter out. Let's look at that time difference between number 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, Steve Bruder's coming in here with a dominating performance like they did in the time trial, runs as well to get into here. But the gap is closing a little bit, and particularly, I mean, teams 2 and 3 here within that, 2-minute range of where Steve Bruder's are at. I mean, that's like one thing going wrong, and if that happens in the opportune dungeon, it could be an opportunity for one of these teams to make it all the way through.
Most definitely, and you can also see down there at the bottom DCLM. That is the team that was going home. But yeah, how do we feel? How do we feel like all of those teams won? I mean, that was the first round that we saw heading in there, Lithy. So definitely like a lot going on at once. But overall, I feel like this format is a very fresh take on an M+ competition here.
Oh, absolutely. I love the theory of giving the teams like a set amount of practice time, because if we kind of think back in general about the whole MDI format and the big points of criticism that were brought up, especially from the competitor side, the large amounts of practice time teams have to put in to perform adequately at the high level and stay competitive is a pretty big pain point. And this format actually actually reins that in a little bit. Of course, you can still practice certain dungeons. Well, you can practice all the dungeons on all kinds of affixes, but you'll never quite be sure on what you actually play. And with this, I love how close some of these teams are together. pvEheroes and Eclatax only about 13 seconds between each other, which might just be a difference in the maze or like a little bit of Convoke RNG on the first boss, even, and parts of that. And then, of course, Frenchs and Ragnar, candleholders, and Who Asked, also kind of close by each other within 20 seconds. So definitely teams that are very much seeing eye to eye. Stiefbruder is obviously a little bit ahead of the competition here for this run, but that might just change, because if they mess up, which happens even for the absolute top teams, we've seen that even in the MDI with Echo, with Perplexed, and you name them, they all inted 1 or 2 polls at some point, and that's also a fun aspect of this format. You get one shot, one opportunity, and
Wow.
if that doesn't work, you snap back to reality. That's not good.
Oh my goodness. All right. Lots of Eminem references on the desk today. Very lovely. But yeah, we saw also, before we headed in there, we saw that 30 minutes of practice time, and we're going to see that once again, Dratnos. And what were some of the things that we saw teams doing? I mean, we saw some, kind of taking their time a little bit, some sort of like rearranging their talents and their gear when they went back to Oribus, and then some just trying, good old fashioned just pulling again and again.
Yeah, so a quick assessment of, hey, what are the affixes in this dungeon? What comp should we play here? There's really not that much time to kind of figure out what you want to do here. So here I am from the slightly pixelated. Sorry about that.
Hey.
This is Tuna Side. I'll open up MDT here, and we can take a look at some of the stuff that went down in this run. So I know it's a little bit hard to see exactly what happened here, but some of the stuff that was important was bolstering management, trying to get these first 2 pulls to be possible while still having bolstering taken care of. That means these mobs and these mobs have lower health than the other stuff that's in the pull with them, and you really need to be careful with that. We saw stuff like Mass Root being used on these 5 guys in the first pull, so that they wouldn't come in right at the start, and then when they do come in, they have about the same health as the other guys. In this pull, we saw these ones CC'd here. The teams would sneak through, start damaging the bow breakers, and then pull back into these. And that lets you get this still done in 1 pull versus 2, which is, of course, a nice little upgrade there. And then, so we have the maze section. The maze section is something that there's a little bit of variance here. We don't have the standard MDI fixed maze, so teams need to make sure that they're able to adapt to however they get their pride set up. This was the one that the Stiefbruders ended up getting, which also coincidentally was basically the same as the one they got in their practice run. A couple of slight differences, like which mini-boss they got was different. But their real run, they had this nice, beautiful 60% pride into boss. That's what you're really hoping happens in this maze with this pathing. You hope you get your 60% pride into boss. If it actually doesn't work out that way, you can sometimes force it by pulling one of these pulls over the wall before pulling the boss. But that's a lot slower. Because once you've done this, after boss, we saw Echo doing this beautiful jump down towards the... So after the boss die, they come out around this little side path and then slow fall, a beautiful jump down into this big old pull here. And this is a lot of count here. This brings them up to 78%, so almost a full 20% bit here. And then this pull spawns pride after like 2 mobs die. This gets them their pride in the middle of this pull, and we saw them just DPSing that down with the pull, then into the boss, and then the end of the dungeon. It was a beautiful, beautiful plan, and that's how they got this dungeon done so fast.
I think my favorite was seeing the friendly alpaca sort of slow fall and gracefully land on that platform with its little legs.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Do you just have this one path for us then with Chief Brothers?
Yeah.
All right.
That's what I got for you.
All right, I wasn't sure if you had more. Didn't want to move on before you were done there. But okay, so now we've got the next one coming up. We're gonna eliminate another team team very, very soon here. We're going to see that same process happen again. We can take a look at the Gauntlet as well for the for mists here with those affixes and with those times also. And just, I mean, this team here is like, it's so far I'm seeing a bit of a pattern. It's like 1 and 2 are always in first and second place. We've got Thief Brothers and then pvEheroes, but then, you know, honestly, and I think you guys were saying it, Cyber, during that last round, especially during the practice, there are a couple of dark horses here in the mix.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Eclatax coming up there and in the 3rd spot as well, and very, very close to pvEheroes, which is a team full of, you know, MDI veterans and just, you know, absolute gamer gurus. And Eclatax, as far as I'm aware, again, I keep saying, as far as I'm aware, please correct me if I'm wrong, Eclatax, but I don't think that team are made up of any previous competitors. So they're kind of just coming into this and they're like, hey boys, should we just win this competition this weekend real quick? And I think that, you know, they're in a good spot to definitely do well. Obviously, Thief Brothers are doing very well as also, but because of the way that this tournament works, it doesn't matter how well you did on, you know, holes or the other side or Mr. Turner side. It matters how well are you going to do on the next key. How well are you going to do now? Because if you mess up that one key, you're eliminated. You don't get that chance to redeem yourself, you know, later today or tomorrow. You're done. You cut. So
yeah.
It's going to be really interesting to see, you know, can these teams, you know, just you knuckle down and kind of just keep their head in the game. So
yeah,
you know.
And also kind of brings in an interesting aspect that we, well, at least on the German MDI casting desk, touch on it quite a bit. For a lot of teams, it works for a good chunk of the tournament to just play fairly safe and steady. Of course, still do MDI level pulls, but you don't have to go completely overboard to actually go far in the tournament. And this for this format, I think, is even more true than for the MDI. Of course, in the MDI, you also just have one run per map, but of course it's a best of 3, best of 5, depending on where in the bracket you end up. But here it's one map. If you mess up this one map, you're out potentially, and that could be a very strong argument for just going with a fast but reasonably safe route instead of just going balls to the wall, just go through it, blast as hard as possible.
I wanted to jump in as well, and I mean, we're discussing the format of today, and something very important to note as well that some of you watching might not be aware of, but actually the most pixelated caster at the end of the day also gets removed from the competition. So we're battling each other to see. Yeah, well, I mean, that's it, right? I only brought the one shirt, the one suit, I've got one pair of pants on, so I'm here for the one day. I'm gonna take my Saturday and dip, you know, take my pixels and move.
Not much to carry there, right?
Nope, it's I got a couple pockets. I'll be fine.
Gosh, goodness gracious. All right, well, while we're waiting for this next round to get started here, do want to give a quick shout out to the HyperX family. They're actually providing us with a giveaway, you guys. We've got a full set of peripherals from HyperX are up for grabs. There's a headset, there's a mic, there's a keyboard, and there's a mouse. So exclamation giveaway in that chat if you want more details on that. So huge thank you to HyperX for sponsoring this tournament. That is an amazing. I've got my headset on now. I think who else has their HyperX headset on? Do we all have it on?
I got a wireless one. Yeah, I got.
Yeah. I'm trying mine. Yeah.
Very nice. Very comfortable. So yes, exclamation giveaway in chat. Definitely go check that out. But we're going to get that next dungeon started up very shortly. We're going to find out what we are going to be seeing. What do you guys think? Because basically it could be any level, it could be any set of affixes, it could be any dungeon. Do we think that the Keystone Masters people are like going to go easy on these teams, or do we think you're going to see some evil combination strat notes?
I think.
Or Lippy, whoever was. He was making a face, so I threw it to him.
I'll leave that one to Dratnos for now, and I'll follow up on whatever he has to say.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I don't think they're gonna go easy on anybody. Although I do think that they'll probably start ramping up the difficulty even further once we get to like 4 teams left, 3 teams left type territory. I bet we'll still be hanging out in that kind of 18, 19 key level range. But I have no idea. You know, they could throw a complete curveball at everybody here. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, totally on board with you there. So I'm pretty sure there's some really interesting stuff in there. You can never say it's bad, because Syrah only makes fun combinations for this tournament. So, fun. And maybe not your definition of fun, but Syrah's definition of fun.
But his definition of fun, yeah, absolutely.
After this tournament is over, you'll get a rough feeling for what Syrah defines as fun. So, I'm expecting like a 24 Sanguine Depths with Sanguine and Bolstering or something, but no, I don't know. I'd be really interested to see a 15 with some fairly easy affixes, just to see how hard some of these teams can blast through a key if it's easy. That would be cool, but I'm also curious to see something that's a little bit more spicy to kind of catch a glimpse of the high key level. Okay, well, you can't really say high key level if we're going up to like the 21, 22 really, but a decent key level when it comes to the teams.
Be high for me. I definitely would wipe a group if I was thrown into a 21, but we do have our next dungeon here with the affixes as well, guys.
And the keystone level for this is going to be plus 16. So this is going to be a blazing fast speedrun key, even faster than MDI team. And this is a different kind of curveball than what I was thinking they might do, but this is cool. So teams are going to have to come up with ways that they can pull even bigger than they do in MDI if they want to try and have the fastest time in a plus 16.
And what some in chat already caught, we do have neither fortified nor tyrannical in this. It's triple affix, no what do you call it? Baseline?
What? And these are like
affix?
3 of the easiest affixes as well. So this is the design here is, you know, because it's player versus player, right? Because you're up against these other teams. What if we make the key really low level and 3 really low impact affixes, except for I guess bursting in some big pulls, and then it's going to be this huge speed running type challenge of just how fast can you get this done.
So does bursting here require you to bring a priest? I'd say yes, right?
Wait, Dorki's in a whole different kind of dungeon. I think he's actually taken a wrong turn and ended up on somebody's farm. But I'm sure he'll find his way back. Oh, and he has. He's managed to use his Hearthstone correctly. I want to know the one team that managed to figure out that it was going to be Necrotics, because that was a real lucky guess. Oh, sorry, no, that wasn't Dorki. That was
who asked?
That was sorry, what'd you say?
Who asked was the team we saw earlier?
Yeah. So they clearly had, they knew something was up. But yeah, our good guy Grom over there took that wrong turn, but he's back in. We're already going to see a few of the teams getting started in the practice. So for those of you that are tuning in and don't know, how this tournament is working exactly, the way this is going to go, the teams are going to have, I think, is it 45 minutes that they have to practice?
30 minutes.
30 minutes, right. So they have 30 minutes to practice these keys as many times as they want. And then after that 30 minutes, we're going to go into the official attempt. So that one attempt is going to be the one that we carry on forward with. So whatever time they pull out in that dungeon is going to be the real attempt. So they're going to have some time now to figure out what they want to do in terms of pulls, how much they want to be practicing this initial pull. We're probably going to see a lot of teams go very big into the first boss here. And on a 16, this could be like a very, very big pull, especially when they've got access to the spear and things. But 4 days, I mean, they're coming into it and they've got to switch their heads into explosive and bursting. And what was the other one? Volcanic as well. I mean, volcanic shouldn't be too much of an issue. These guys are light on their toes, but explosive and bursting is it's gonna take a moment of them to switch their heads around and get used to this. But what do you think, Lithy, in terms of this? In terms of the group comps that we're going to be seeing, I don't know if we could jump maybe to the 8 screen again, production, if that's okay, and we can check out kind of the team comp changes, because obviously the dungeons have only been announced for a few minutes. So, I mean, we even see now on the side of Steve Bruder's over there changing character and figuring out what he wants to play on. But what are you kind of expecting going into this dungeon in terms of composition, Lithy?
So I'd assume the Demon Hunter tank will stay for most teams. We might still see the bear from candle holders, but if I see that correctly, they also swapped over on a Demon Hunter, which definitely will be able to see some of these large pulls that you can do on a 16 a little bit better. But in general, as I already touched on, we have bursting, we have a 16, so you can pull pretty massive, and having a master spell for those stacks can be quite substantial, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. I was expecting to see more priests than I am seeing. I think we see from quite a few teams, especially lower down in this view here. So we see like Who Asked and 4 Danes, I believe Eclatax. They're all running the priest here as well as Candleholder. So they're all running the priest, but it looks like Stiefbruders and pvEheroes and all of their experience and knowledge have actually gone, you know what, we can do this without the priest. And I'm curious how they're going to look to do that. I think if they have the Kyrian pot, then they should be able to. I can't remember if it removes magic as well.
I don't think it removes magic.
I don't think.
You have a shield that you can pick up in the early part of the dungeon, right? Maybe they're going with that. We can see Stiefbruder is pulling it right now, and immediately 2 or 3 members just completely outright dying. We have immunities on the mage and the paladin, obviously, and the tank. Let's be honest. Either he gets a single target dispel from the healer, or basically just survives through anything anyway. And for the moment, that seemed to work out fine until they got to the Prideful at the end of the pull, and that was a little bit too much. And now they are going out and resetting, doing this whole thing again. Yeah, no. Really makes me question if you can actually pull massive here on this key level with mobs that die so fast without a priest, and if you don't have a master spell, maybe even run double priest, like run a shadow priest and a healer, maybe a holy priest or a dis priest. Do you get through this with 2 master spells?
I mean, I don't know if you want to sacrifice the Venthia Holy Paladin as well, because you end up losing a lot of damage potential, and especially in a 16 key, there's not really going to be that much healing if we compare it to, say, this exact same key affix but on a 20 or a 22 or something like that. On a 16, this is going to be bread and butter for him. And maybe we could even jump in, by the way, to the view on Who Asked there. I want to check out that team composition in a moment and see what they're running with. But I don't know if you want to sacrifice the Holy Paladin. One thing that I do think is going to be really interesting is whether, because the key is as low as it is, if that's actually going to be like off-putting, right? And by off-putting, I mean your cooldowns are going to be up way later than you would normally expect. So you might only get 1 Ashen Hollow in this whole dungeon. But you know what? Regardless of how many Ashen Hollows you're going to get, you're definitely going to get a little sneak peek of Dratnos just looking cute. And I don't know if he's going to jump in with something here for us, or if
Hello. Yes, I guess I'm here.
Sounds like we're having a couple of technical difficulties behind the scenes here. It sounds like our program is stuck in this position, so we get to have a nice view here of Dratnos. Dratnos, how you feeling about the game so far?
Very cool. Yes, this is exactly what you guys want to see. Yeah, none of this practice nonsense. I'm pretty excited here. Pretty happy with the key choice for what's going on here. I think it's pretty cool to see what the teams are trying to figure out for plus 16 key as well. I think this is a cool difference. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm off camera. All right, I'm out of here.
See you later. Sorry about that, guys.
Who knew that Dratnos was the true practice session, and the team's got to put the moves on him and see what sticks. But yeah, we're jumping on to the view of Who Asked now, and we can see that Mode is on his favorite character, his priest there. So he's going to be able to bring that into this dungeon. We're also seeing Ram on the Hunter once more. So I'm wondering, Lithy, how much are these guys going for just their comfort picks in this competition compared to what might necessarily be the optimal for the dungeon that they're doing?
To be honest, I got caught up a little bit by the fact that they just got straight up one-shotted by a bunch of stuff. Maybe they pulled mobs they didn't want to. I think there was a caster in there as well. We can take a sneak peek at their MDT here for the moment as well.
It looked like they pulled one of the like mini boss mobs. I can't remember what they're called, like the Necromancers, right? Because that was doing. Those mobs. I think they accidentally pulled one of those because it looked like there was a lot of AoE effect going on that mob's cast. So I think maybe they pulled that in. Maybe it just got trailed in. But But yeah, I mean they're gonna have some time to practice this initial pull. What do you think then? As I was saying about the whole comp that they're going for, do you think it's solid for this dungeon?
I think so. So Fire Mage and Ally Shaman by now are basically the go-to picks for DPS. So more or less, the Hunter definitely adding some nice damage. Can't really see if this is BM. I think it's MM, right?
Yeah. They've
that's
got true
Ram
shot.
on the MM
yeah,
Hunter.
yeah. Mhm.
So definitely a good chunk of single target damage in there as well as the MM historically, or at least this expansion, really strong 1 minute CD burst. So they'll be looking really good going into pack after pack after pack because they have the damage ready so often. And just in general, really good damage. And as I mentioned earlier, all the master spell on the priest. I'm assuming that's the main reason why Mode is on that character at the moment. Definitely coming in handy for that that bursting affix on these massive pulls.
Yeah, and I mean, I was mentioning. I actually want to kind of take back what I said earlier, where I mentioned about the whole, is it worth sacrificing the Holy Paladin in this scenario? But I actually think because of the key level that it is worth it. Because realistically, how many Ashen Howlers are you going to get in this run? 2?
Maximum 2 or 3.
Max 2? Really? Like, I mean, maybe for some teams they might get a third, but I don't know that it's going to be as valuable as potentially just running the Disc Priest, having access to continuous, constant master spells. Also, you're getting the PI, which is really nice. I bet Dr. J is kicking himself that he's not actually getting that on the side of his team. But
maybe he is getting it.
Well, no, they're not running the priest, are they? They're running the Holy Paladin, and then they're going with Elemental. I think they're going Mage still, and then I don't know what their third is.
Last time we checked, they weren't running the priest. Maybe they have swapped to that now, but we can take a look at that after we've seen the second iteration of the poll that Who Asked is doing here at the moment, because that seems to be going quite a lot better than the first round. Also, mobs there in the end that take a little bit longer to kill because they came in late into the poll, but they seem to finish that off quite quickly. Actually, I don't think they have even started the key itself, so this is M0. So basically just figuring out the mob pathing, gain some resources to jump into the whole thing. And now we will jump into the first big action, or, well, not the first, but the next one for Maysteen and the crew. I'm really curious how Mode will deal with this whole situation. We got a lot of explosives coming in as well, lots of volcanic that you have to deal with as a caster, and immediately the Bloodlust 16 is the key level, and nice knockback on the mobs here to get them back in stacked up there. Mode taking a bunch of damage. Crimson actually with the combustion in there, pumping some big numbers, 80k DPS, and now the bursting stacks come in. Those hurt like crazy. Mode pumping as hard as he can. Rapture coming out with the big shields, dropping low in deep, but they can survive the whole thing. Stacks running out, just one mob left to deal with, and that actually looked pretty good. Bloodlust done, and pull as well. This is basically flatline 20%, and with the golem and the prideful buff, they can go to the boss fight.
It looked good, but thinking about it, how worth is it to do that pull without the boss? I mean, a lot of teams, they're going to be committing to trying to pull that initial trash into the boss. Now, they are on limited practice time, as we know. They've got that 30 minutes, and that time is ticking down as we speak. So it's got to be a question of, yes, maybe you can pull everything into this first boss and blast it down in a quicker time period. However, how much practice time do you want to commit to just this first pull? And when we actually look at that, look to answer that question, realistically, apart from this first pull, there's maybe one other trash pull in this area that's going to hurt, and that's going to be the second or the last trash pack before the second boss. And we'll hopefully somebody will get there at some point, and I can detail to you why that is going to be difficult for them. But apart from that, there's not really too much to worry about in this dungeon. When they do go up into the Necropolis, there are some dangerous trash packs, but with, cardboards and things like that and orbs that they're going to have access to, it shouldn't be too much of a worry. So realistically, this is the most dangerous trash pack that they have to worry about. And as we can see, I mean, the Chief Rooters, they're going down. Kenneck's just holding on. Gingy's the last man or last DPS standing. It's a hard pull. I mean, these are MDI veterans, and they're struggling with this one. Do you think it's maybe the combination of having these explosives to deal with? Because if you actually look at it from the side of Sheeprooters, they don't really have a great explosive kill. I mean, they've got JB on the Paladin, they've got now obviously on the Vengeance, but they don't really have a DPS player that can comfortably deal with them. If they can deal with it between tank and healer, then they're fine. But they might just struggle with some of those ones in ranged, and when you're trying to get everything stacked up, and then you got explosives 10 feet out in each direction, suddenly you have to delay your offensive cooldowns because you need to be, making sure you're not going to wipe those explosives. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe they could just commit the Ashen Hallow there and just live through it, and just hold their breath and pray. But we'll have to see what they end up pulling out there. We're swapping over now to 4 Dajns, and they're running the exact same team comp here. So clearly a very comfortable one for them as well. I'm just thinking, go ahead, Lithy.
One other thing that I'm kind of thinking about is, as far as I'm aware, bursting is magic damage. So theoretically, you could bring in a DK with the anti-magic zone and just drop that for the reduced magic damage if you want to do these massive bursting pulls. That could help a lot. Other than
we
that,
actually have seen a team running a DK. I don't know if they've swapped off of it now. I cannot remember which team it was, but I definitely saw a little bit of red coming through on one of the teams. So I think your assumptions there may be correct for somebody.
And we can see one more team here, 4 Danes and 1 Swede, also pulling 40 mobs and one necromancer, which did not work out for them.
Look at them all. They just ditch everyone. They go, all right, see ya, I'm dipping out. And they just run and leave the team, and everyone starts falling over one by one.
It's actually cool to see. There's the mentioned DK. It's actually cool to see, though, that the teams are on a 16, struggling this much to figure out how they want to play the first pull. And we see Alex here being the sole man standing, the last man or the last demon hunter to survive this whole pull. At what point would you say just running in there, completely annihilating that first pull, and then just wiping it and just go again with 5 deaths is actually faster than staggering the pulls and pulling different kinds of mobs?
Honestly, I think it's just better to stagger it. Like I say, in an ideal world, what you would do is you would do this first pull, you do it 100 times, and you just go again and again and again and again until you get it right. And then you go, okay, cool, we've got this pull down. Let's move on to the next pull. And then you do that, a few dozen times, and you do it again and again and again. And then you move on to the next pull and the next pull. And that's normally how the practice for these competitions goes, and that's what you'll be seeing in things like the Great Push upcoming, and that's what you will have seen in most KSMs previously and MDIs. That's how you do these events, right? It's just sheer determination and just going through the motions time and time again. But in this format, you've got half an hour. How much time do you want to commit to this first pull? If you do it, and like I say, you don't even have to do the quickest time. You just have to not be the slowest. So what if you just do this first pull in 2 packs, and go with the boss with the pride buff and whatnot, and then you move on and you get some more practice further on in the dungeon, because so far, no one's really gotten past this first pull. Is it worth it? I don't think so.
I think it absolutely is, because it basically is A, the biggest pull in the dungeon you can do, and B, once you have figured out how to do this, any pull that is of similar or equal size later on, mainly thinking about the Necropolis there, you know exactly how to handle that one as well, because you have handled this one in just the same way. So I'd say, even though you're not literally practicing the same pulls, you are kind of practicing the same pulls, and through that it is definitely worth it to stuff a bunch of time into this first pull, figuring out how to do this. And Eclatax here actually doing really, really well. Absolutely amazing. There's 17 stacks of that good old bursting buff on them, but they're just healing through it.
They've got a gatekeeper though. They're gonna have to reset. They've got a gatekeeper.
They've got a gatekeeper. That's unfortunate, but nonetheless, absolutely clean played by these guys, and that looks great. So they have a plan. They have a plan that is working. They have a DK and a priest. They are set up and just need to execute now. And swapping over to Frenchs and Ragnar, they are on the boss as well. They seem to have done this a little bit
Ooh.
staggered, at least the boss bull, and taking some good damage, but seeming to be fine as well. And Reactors not in
Do you see what
range.
I
Oh, he's
see?
at the start of the dungeon. What do
Reactors
you
on
see?
the rogue.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, I don't know. Can we see what rogue, like what spec that rogue is? Because we can just see evasion and cloak of shadows. So there's no way of knowing. He's not on the DPS meter yet because he's AFK. And maybe his maybe his sushi has been delivered and he's got to go or maybe mom's got dinner in the oven and he's got to run downstairs and deal with that or something. But definitely AFK in this one. So maybe they're paying for their 15 weekly no leaver or something. But we will see what Reactors is playing eventually, I'm sure. But that's interesting to see a little bit of a comp change here. It's most likely going to be Outlaw, but
Yeah.
Assass is pretty nice actually in dungeons. It's got a lot of useful utility though in this kind of setting. Probably not as useful as an Outlaw rogue, but
The thing. The thing
Yeah,
with
go ahead.
Assassination Rogue obviously being that you need to stack a bunch of bleeds, and you have a ramp time basically. So that's one of the reasons that would kind of speak against pulling in an Assassination Rogue for this, apart from the boss damage, because Outlaw just does a bunch of damage anyway.
True. One thing that is nice about the Assass Rogue, though, is the fact that Garrote from Stealth, it's obviously recastable. I think they can get like 4 or so Garrotes off, and that actually silences the enemy for a few seconds. So it's actually very nice when you're trying to group things up. You can have the Rogue like shadow stepping and dashing around and just Garroting mobs and helping with pulling things together. However, that's nowhere near... It's nowhere near as good to silence 4 mobs if you can just do one sweep, like leg sweep and just stun 20 mobs, like if you can just get an AoE stun off instead of a few silences, you're gonna opt for that. Or if you can, Dragon's Breath and
or disorienting
totem
or
yeah, exactly, all those kinds of things. Yeah, so you've got a few options there. But one thing that was interesting, I saw Sodae moved away from the Balance Druid. He's gone for the Shadow Priest, so that's a decision that they've made there. And we've actually seen all the teams move away from the Balance Druids. Why do you think, Lithy, the Balance Druid is not going to be as desirable for this dungeon?
The main reasons I'd say is the length of the cooldowns the Druid has, because Celestial Alignment, so the big cooldown for the Druid is 3 minutes, and with that on the 16, I don't think it lines up too well with a good number of pulls. And bringing in the Hunter, I mentioned it earlier, 1 minute CD on the big AoE burst, is probably working a lot better overall than the Druid with its 3 minutes. So we can see Lepan here dying on the pack because I don't either didn't have an invis pod or they just wanted to skip it nonetheless. And nice Mind Soothe coming out from mode as well to grab the hammer, because it's hammer time after all.
Oh, beautifully done. We've gone from Eminem to MC Hammer. What have you got left in the bag, Lithy? Before we find out, we're going to be jumping over to Dratnos. The man himself is going to be jumping in to discuss a few things with us.
Yeah, so I have an update for you on the rogue situation. That Frenchs+Ragnar team, they're playing the outlaw rogue, not the assassination, although I do like the idea of assassination in here as well. Outlaw has a lot of challenges in pulls this big at a 16 key level, being target capped to just 5 targets. Compared to the mage, the elemental shaman, not gonna feel great on the damage front there. But in Necrotic Wake in particular, there's a huge amount of utility you get out of a spec that has a stealth and a vanish effect. Here we're looking at who asked play, and they're playing a hunter, which also basically brings access to those as well, right? They have camo, they have Feign Death that does the same thing, and that can let you kind of sneak around, grab extra weapons, and then pick up a nice combination of weapons that you're going to use then in a particular order. And both hunters and rogues have a misdirection effect as well, which lets them send all of that threat from the weapon over to the team here. So you can see that's exactly what's happening with Rampam right now. He's got that anima orb that he's using with the misdirection effect, and combining those two just completely nukes that entire pull for huge damage. So having one of either a rogue or a hunter in a team here is really, really big for facilitating those specific pulls in this dungeon.
What do you think, Dretnos? Can I ask a couple things? So first off, what do you think about maybe they were struggling with explosives, and do you think that's maybe why they opted for the rogue as well? Because rogue is obviously very good at dealing with explosives. And secondly, what do you think about them? I mean, we've seen in MDIs where you go up and you do the misdirect trick, and using a rogue, you can misdirect all of the trash upstairs in the necropolis back down to the group waiting in this section of the dungeon, and then you can cleave it all down. Do you think that might be something that they'll attempt, or not so much?
Yeah, so I do think, I guess I'll answer these questions in order. Yes, I think Outlaw is one of the best explosive orb killers in the game. You lose very little damage for targeting them because you're just blade flurrying and use it. Basically, all of your single target effects are AoE effects anyways. So you just hit them with a global and they go down. It's a little bit less true than it was back in BFA because everybody can kill an explosive orb in one global now, but Outlaw still does lose the least to target them. And because they're doing the least damage anyway on big AoE compared to the mage and stuff, it's the lowest opportunity cost for them to target them. So it's kind of nice to have somebody in your group who's just their job is explosives. And then, yeah, like you were saying, both Outlaw and Hunter have the ability to misdirect the entire necropolis down after this boss. We'll see if Who Asked attempts that. The way that would work is that you would have your tank grab the anima orb that is in this room. And then once everything comes down, once they finish evading, your tank would fire that off, and that would silence everything. It would make them a lot of threat, and it would hopefully kill the stuff pretty quick as well. I don't think they should do that. I don't think you should attempt to pull that risky when you just need to be 6th out of 7 teams to survive. I think that those sorts of plays are the ways that you get 7th out of 7 some of the time. I think that you should go with the more conservative, the slower pathing. But if these teams can figure out how to do that, that'll be huge time save.
The
Most
thing is,
definitely.
though...
I gotta throw to a break though real quick, and then we can wrap up this conversation after we come back. We'll be right back.
Alright, I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Time to farm some dubs. Crap, I got a squad on my right.
I'm running in for backup.
Yo, Ron, he's right there in front of you.
Ugh. Sorry guys, it happened again.
Damn. This is the 10th one today.
Alright, I'm back.
Someone cover me.
Yeah, I see you. You got him, you got him, you got him! Yes! Yo, that's sweet.
Yeah, it is. We about to win this.
Guys, I can get used to this. HyperX alloy. Built strong because it has to be.
Hey guys, and welcome back. We are about to get right into that second dungeon of the day and eliminate our second team of the day. Dratnos, you were watching during that practice. Do we have any idea of where we're going to end up here after this second run? How are these teams looking?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a lot of different strategies these teams have here. Unlike that 18 key level, this is not in people's comfort zones. It's a lower keystone, and it doesn't have tyrannical or fortified going on. So we have a lot of different decisions being made about which kind of spec should we be playing. Should we be looking still to play that Holy Paladin? Should we be looking to switch in something like a Healing Priest? What DPS do we want to use? Do we want to use a Rogue, a Hunter, a Death Knight? All these different things. Teams are coming up with different answers too. My suspicion is going to be some team with catastrophic errors is going to be our 7th place team. So if I was playing this tournament, I would be saying as slow and steady as you could reasonably hope to go and still beat a team that has a wife.
Also, shout out to this ready check that we have here. 100% of the teams are ready. This is a new screen, so I think that 40% are not ready. This is cool. I like this.
Yeah, can't you click on it? Like if you're viewing, you can click on it at home, right? So that's chat
this is
right
chat.
now.
Okay, that's what they were saying. Okay, this got explained to me, and apparently I still don't understand. But now I get it. So let's chat. Okay. Wow, I like this. I want to press.
Somebody's definitely gone AFK for a tea break, and I know it because that's what I would be doing. Wait, 4% click
You
Dratnos.
literally did go AFK for a tea break, didn't you? Or was that Lithy?
I don't know. I do it a lot.
I do have some team now, so.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, hey, cheers to that. This is coffee though, because I'm an American.
Yeah, you dumped all of our tea in the river, didn't you? So that's probably why you
Sorry.
don't have any left.
My bad.
But that's fine. Don't worry about it. I've got some in reserve, so it's fine. I think I love that production. We're like, we're gonna have this ready check. It's gonna be amazing. Everyone's gonna click on it, and then chat immediately just starts clicking on people's faces, and it's like already just like ruined.
How come Dajn's got 20%?
Yeah,
because
he's Dajn. Wait, that's how many pixels he has.
Right there.
Yeah, I got more clicks than I got pixels.
Guys,
oh no.
The official runs are starting, and now is not in his seat. Steeper is not even there.
That is a big crit. Okay. Look.
Maybe they're still going to be the quickest
There are a lot
team.
of feasts as well on the ground of the tournament realm. Everybody's there's a couple people that is really interesting. Several teams are not ready to start yet. Some of them are now in the dungeon. Some of them are getting going on the second dungeon of the day, Necrotic Wake. And this could be very detrimental for some of these teams here. But we could be seeing elimination based off of this.
On a sidetrack serious note, please don't spam auto hammers or feasts on the tournament realm. It might get you or your access removed. It's not a good idea.
Really?
But that shouldn't be a worry for the teams here. They're going to be jumping in now. We got Eclatax. They're all in their seats. They're actually playing. I don't know. Can somebody in chat go into Nell's stream and be like, "Hey man, that whole tournament thing? You got a game now." But Eclatax is going in for this first pull. They're not going in with the boss. Lithy, what do we think?
Looking pretty hot though. Alex getting some big hits in here. We have Sodae on the priest to get that master spell in if possible, if necessary. Now the first mobs are dying. They have some debuffs on them. There's a cast that went through. Explosive for getting killed left and right. They're ticking super low. That's like 18 stacks of the explosive, the bursting, and Super actually died there. The poor DK losing his life, but gets to release immediately because, as you mentioned, Psy, they have not pulled the boss. So they have the Prideful, went through that pull flawlessly. 29% in the books. Okay, not flawlessly. They sacrificed the DK, but, sacrifice one DK to the gods is always a guarantee.
That's definitely
for
a trade I would make any day of the week. They're going to get my raid spot in 9.1 so they can, go down in a tournament. That's fine with me. They are now going to pull this first boss. They're going to pull it in with this pack of trash here. They do have to be careful. There are a couple of need to be careful of those drains. If they go through, they're going to stun members of the team. They got to be careful of that wretch, and they are going to commit the spear. It looks like there. If you do actually line up the person throwing the spear and the boss, if you have all of the trash lined up in between those two objects, then actually the spear will also deal damage to the mobs that it hits in that crossfire as well. So they do manage to dispatch of that trash very, very quickly. We see big numbers from the boy in blue over there, Misty, popping up on the mage damage. And Blightborn, Blightborn down. He's going to be made quick work of. They're going to be moving on very quickly to the next section of this dungeon. So that was about as clean as it. Almost as clean as it gets.
Almost as clean.
Almost as clean.
Like Bone is blight gone now, and we're checking out what the Stiefbruders are doing. They have one death on their account as well. I'm not sure who died, but they are still running canics on the druids, so a little bit of a comp difference here. Nonetheless, almost the same poll. They got 28% in the books, and the prideful buff now going into the boss fight. Bloodlust used, obviously, on the first poll as well. But they are looking quite alright as well, being a minute in. I'd love to see where the PvE heroes are at the moment, because those guys were doing pretty well on the Mists run, and I'm really curious how they worked out the first poll on this dungeon.
Absolutely.
Real quick on before we move on from this team, I do have some insider information. I asked now why they were late, and he goes, I don't know. Jay was AFK. He was probably on Tinder or something.
Oh, well, you know what? Maybe
so
they were trying to find their tank on Tinder. That's where, that's an option, I guess, if you need to.
He should play BM Hunter instead, because that gets chicks, right? So.
Survival Hunter gets chicks, actually.
Survival Hunter. My bad.
You wouldn't need to be on Tinder if you're a Survival Hunter, because you'd already have chicks. So.
To be fair, BM Hunters get more chicks. They can have 2 pets.
Oh yeah, true. Actually, people do love animal like pet pics, don't they? So actually, yeah, BM twice the pets, twice the chicks. But
we're talking about chickens, right?
I don't know at this point. We're speaking of PvE heroes here. They have moved on. They're actually probably the furthest away through this dungeon now. They're looking in a very good, solid position here. They are going to be gearing up for, I think, 1 or 2 more trash packs before they are going to be going on to Amarth. And I wanted to mention something. Oh, yes, this is what I wanted to mention. There is no fortified or tyrannical on this key.
Yep.
If you look, chat, there is no fortified, there is no tyrannical. Your dreams have been answered. What if Blizzard removed those affixes? So that's why this dungeon, I think, is so spectacular. And yet, we haven't seen anything too crazy yet. Like, that's the thing. We haven't seen anything just absolutely nuts popping off here where a team's just gone and pulled 50% trash in a pull or anything like that. Do you think something, that there's still something yet to come, Lithy? Or are people just scared and they're going to play it safe? What do you think?
Well, we touched on it earlier already. I mean, it's a format that really lends itself to play at least somewhat safe. You said it a few times. You don't have to be fastest. You just don't have to be slowest, and that's a good plan to have for this tournament, at least until like the top 3. Then you're running into problem. If you're just trying not to be the slowest if you actually want to win here. But for now, it seems to be working, and these guys, with another big pull going in there, quite heavy, with Divine Field on the tank. He's taking a lot of hits. They're already 9 stacks. There's the Master Spell. If I saw that, never mind, there wasn't a Master Spell, but there was the Ice Block from the Mage, so some immunities popped to get rid of some of those stacks. Looking really well at the moment, at least for the PvE heroes, with that Prideful buff, and of course the Golem buff in there, looking really solid, playing this pull out perfectly, actually.
I feel like there was a slight misplay, though, like because they have the Carrion buff from the Goliath as well as the Prideful buff, and obviously the Carrion buff, it will deal damage in AoE as well as some healing, and people weren't stacked up. It seems like all the range players were actually keeping their distance from the rest of the group. Maybe that would have just helped Divine there stay up a little bit earlier, or have an easier time of staying alive there. Maybe it's not that big a deal, but I feel like that's definitely something that they could have just been aware of. But I mean, they've continued on. They had no deaths. Divine being the divine tank that he is and just staying alive there. They're moving now on to Amarth here, and they should make quick work of this. I don't know if they're going to commit any items to Amarth. I don't think it's worth it, especially on a non-tyrannical setting. They do have to be careful of that volley, though, almost going through there. They are probably going to look to commit some of these items later on in the dungeon. Probably try and dispatch of Nalthor, the final boss, a lot quicker. because that's really real time sink there. If you go through too many phases, if you have people, getting sent to the gulag too often, then you can really rack up some time there that you don't want. And as well with Surgeon Stitchflesh as well, if you can kill him very, very quickly before he jumps up again onto the platform where he's untargetable, then again you save a lot of time. So
usually getting hammered during a tournament isn't really something you want to do, but in this case, it's working out really well, especially on the bosses. But apart from that, pvEheroes on a really decent pace here. 7 minutes into the Necropolis and swapping over to Eclatax, who are at exact the same spot, just 20 seconds behind them. And this, once again, two teams that have been really, really neck to neck. The last run in Mists already as well, and I'm really curious how this Necropolis poll is going to go for these guys, because this is once again a giant chunk of mobs with some really dangerous casters. There are the mass grips, there's the damage, there's a lot of explosives that they have to deal with, but they're getting in there nonetheless without remorse or any regard to the danger. Mystic IG going down there, that is really, really unfortunate.
Was that a death to the spine crush?
It might have been. It might have been. That's unfortunate to say the least, but they are getting through this quite nicely, immediately triggering the Prideful, and we can see one of the collectors in the back just being polymorphed up for the moment. They'll just keep that for later. Maybe get some cleavers in there as well. And after that, it looked pretty solid, apart from the DK death, obviously.
I mean, the thing is, having 1 or 2 deaths here and there, I think is totally acceptable in this type of format, right? We're not expecting teams to play absolutely flawlessly, where they're not going to have 1 or 2 little mistakes here and there. So 1 or 2 deaths, I'm not going to beat him up about that. I would say that was pretty clean, especially with the limited practice time that they had. But just a heads up to the chat as well. So Seafooders were actually a little bit late, I believe, but there won't be any. They won't be penalized for it on this occasion. But I do believe that there are penalties for teams if they do, if they're, a lengthy period of time being late, because you can, obviously use things to your advantage. If you're starting, after the other teams have started, you can look at how they're doing and all that kind of stuff. So we will keep an eye on those kinds of things. We will try and keep it as fair a tournament as we possibly can. But we're jumping over now to Frenchs+Ragnar. Lithy, what do you think about these guys, how they're performing, where we at?
That is a really good question. New UI, getting used to where everything is. So they have 0 deaths on the board at the moment. 8 minutes 30 in. This is pretty decent pacing without any deaths. So far, so good. 6 minute 50 a Marth died. So they went up into the Necropolis at about 7 minutes, which is basically the same time as the pvEheroes, if I'm not completely mistaken, and a little bit ahead in front of Eclatax. And with that, kind of puts them into like the top 3, top 4. So absolutely a decent time so far. I'm really curious how they are going to get out of this Necropolis timing-wise and what kind of weapons they have left. We can see the Shaman taking fair care of these explosive orbs with no time loss whatsoever. Also, this is the team with the Rogue. And as we can see, Reactors doing some massive deeps here with 15k DPS. One might suspect that there was a spear in there somewhere with a damage, but we'll see about that.
Yeah, that could have been a cheeky little orb or something like that, just to give him a fighting chance. But like we say, the Rogue there being just a real good controlled DPS, and that's a very appealing element of a Rogue for myself personally, as well for many others, when you can just be more of that support style DPS. Yeah, you're not going to be the biggest damage on the meters, but you're providing a service for the team, and you're doing the hard work. You're allowing your other team members to just stand back and do what they need to do, which is pressing that DPS button. So pretty nice to have the Rogue in the group for sure. And what's really cool is the fact that with all of these different compositions that we may have, changes to DPS, DK here, a Disc Priest there, a Rogue there, and just all the different changes that they've had, we're still seeing some very competitive times and some very similar times amongst these teams competing. So that's really cool to see. And I'm actually wondering, has anyone struggled so far? Is there anyone that's currently, going through any hardship, stuck on the first boss or the second boss or anything like that? But it looks like who asked? They're on the last boss. They're on Nalthor, aren't they?
Who asked? Actually blasting like crazy, and candle holders, at least from the current status, the last team to arrive in the necropolis. I'm really curious what their timer is, but in with who asked might be a really interesting thing to see, because that last boss dying so early on.
Yeah, it's like
of course,
30% health right now.
Yeah, exactly. We haven't had all teams start at the same time, obviously, so that's definitely a thing. And I think Candlehold is losing someone on that pole there, because we can see Yumy there respawning and riding the Angel back up once more. So all teams fairly even in terms of being at the same point, and we have a 13-minute, 50 seconds absolute banger of a time for Who Asked. Mode Lepan and the boys and the crew completely annihilating this dungeon, and I'm really curious how the other teams measure up against this, especially the Stiefbruders.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just because a team has already finished doesn't mean that they're necessarily first place. They could be further down the leaderboard. We're going to have to wait and see, because obviously not every team will have started at the exact same millisecond. There might be 10, 20, 30 seconds difference here and there, depending on when that key did go in. So we'll have to see. That was a 13-minute 50, as you said, Lithy. We'll have to see how that fares to these other teams here. But we see Eclatax back with them again, checking in. They've still got a crafter alive. It looks like they just killed the second to last boss there, the Surgeon Stitchflesh. They're going to be moving on to Nalthor, and they're actually doing something very cute. They're going to be leaving that crafter alive, and they leave it downstairs, and it will actually throw cleavers up, vertically. I don't know how it does it. It's got magical cleavers, apparently, but they're actually going to use this as a way to kill this boss more quickly than they usually would. So they have to be very careful with their positioning. They have to know where that mob is positioned and where it's facing at all times. And then they've got to dodge these comet storms as well. So this is a little bit of nuance to this pull, but who cares when the boss is dying in 10 seconds? It's down to 30% health. They've got the lust going. Everyone's looking healthy. They're popping all their cooldowns, and this is just melting. They're looking at a 14-minute 14, 17, it looks like.
Yeah.
But they have trash left. They've got to kill the crafter. Oh,
that's a few more seconds on the board for them, but with 14:24, they will finish this run as well. Good time coming out from Eclatax as well. A little bit behind, of course, some of the other teams, but as you already mentioned, Psy, it's more about who's slowest rather than who's the fastest. And with 16 minutes 30 for Danes, 1 Swede, they are just about to enter the Surgeon Stitchflesh fight. So let's say they have another minute or two at least to go. Not looking too hot for them at the moment, but who knows where the other teams are currently. As we mentioned earlier, all teams fairly close. Everyone in the necropolis might just be still a big W for these guys.
Yeah, and I mean, if people are watching, if they're playing and watching or listening into the stream at the same time and trying to figure out where certain teams may be, it would be great if there was a way for them to, pull something out the bag and try and attempt something that they hadn't yet practiced and try and make up some time here and there. But at this point, only got 2 bosses left, and Stitchflesh is almost dead, so they can't really speed things up too much. They've just got to hope that they can just, continue on at their pace and hopefully they can pull out a good time, or at least not the slowest time. But the 4 Danes here at 17-minute 36 seconds. They've still got 1 boss left to go. They don't have the crafter here either, so they're not going to be having access to that additional bit of damage there. So that's going to slow them down slightly, but we'll have to see.
It's not going to be too much. I'd say it's like a few seconds, 2 or 3, because on this key level, the boss doesn't actually live that long, especially with Bloodlust, with a lot of damage and without Tyrannical. They'll be blasting this like crazy. So we'll be looking at the DPS meters here for a moment. The Shaman DPS obviously coming out hot with its 10k in the opener, if I'm seeing that correctly. And now the Shadow Priest and obviously the Holy Paladin ramping up slowly but surely. The Fire Mage, obviously the healer in the group, will not be doing that much DPS for the moment, but nonetheless, boss already on 40% health almost, while the Mage actually gets sent down. It's a bit unfortunate that it hits the healer, but hey, what can you do? Next Comet Storm coming in soon. The shield is broken as well, so you gotta dance a little bit to not get frosted, and then we're all right on this one, and they should be going out with roughly 19 minutes.
Yeah, and one interesting thing here with 4 Danes, 1 Swede is funnily enough, they've added up the numbers that they're 4 Danes and 1 Swede, but they're actually the only 6-member team in the tournament. So I don't know where the mystery 6th member is. I don't know if they've even had a chance yet to play. Getting used to this many teams this quickly is with so much changing on the fly. It can be slightly difficult to keep track. But I will be interested to know if they did make a comp change at any point in this in this scene and what that would have been for. But we see now we're going to be checking in with candle holders. They're looking at they're currently at 17 minutes. Boss is almost dead, so they're definitely not the slowest team so far. It looks
that's
like
a counting down. They are 19 minutes.
Sorry, they're at 19 minutes.
They're a few seconds behind. Yum actually getting snooted there with a unfortunate dispel and barely managing to keep Yoda alive. Or is that Yoda? Should be Yoda. Yeah, that's Yoda. And finishing the boss at 19 minutes 19. So a few seconds behind 4 Danes
but there are
and 1
some
Swede.
Deaths to consider.
No.
Have those already?
I think they're already factored in the timer. I'm not quite sure about that one. But,
yeah, okay, that's what I was thinking. I'm assuming that the deaths are already counted there.
So it's going to be interesting to see. Was these guys the last team to finish? We're going back to the 8th cam, and yes, these guys are the last team to finish. So we'll have to see who actually did have the slowest time. I think the Stiefbrüders knocked out a crazy about 12 minute 50. Or 11 minute 50, if I believe what chat said earlier. So really, really interesting times coming out, and as expected from the midfield teams, a lot of teams really close by each other. And we touched on it earlier already. Everyone in the necropolis. So I'm really, really curious to see the times that we ended up with.
Yeah, hopefully we can get official confirmation on those times very shortly. But yeah, quite a bit of a difference in terms of the teams overall there, Dratnos. We had some very clean runs, we had some late starts, and then we had some ones that also just kind of fell apart a little bit.
Yeah, and we can confirm that candle holders have been eliminated here. So that is the team of Dorki, Yumy TV, Junkrat, Yoda, and Chau. pvEheroes will be unfortunately departing our tournament. Here. That was a tough run, and Necrotic Wake, a lot of stuff that can go wrong in there, and I think this was a curveball that nobody was really expecting from the tournament organizers, lowering the key level, taking out Tyrannical and Fortified. So I'm curious to know what all the competitors thought about it, but I thought it was pretty cool from a spectator perspective.
Yeah, I feel like somebody that's not super familiar with M+ Lithy would maybe look at that key being lowered and be like, oh, what is this doing here? This is so easy. But that's not really what we found with that last run that we just saw.
Absolutely not. I think one of the major players here is the Bursting Affix. So lower keys automatically invite you to pull bigger, to pull bolder, and just get in there and slam some mobs. But suddenly, turns out those mobs, when they die, you die as well. So either you bring a priest or you die. And since a bunch of teams opted to not pull a priest, they had to slow it down a little, maybe stagger the mobs dying a little bit, and that put a really interesting twist on the dungeons. Additionally, of course, to the fact that we did not have either Fortified or Tyrannical. So really, really interesting choice of affixes on this dungeon, and yeah, what I said earlier, that is the stuff that Syrah thinks is fun, and in most cases I actually agree with him.
So speaking of Syrah, he just put in our call that we've got going. He says that you think this key is weird, get ready for the next one. So we're gonna find out shortly what he means by that. We're gonna head to a break, and we've got more keys coming up for you up next.
what you say. Not ever, not today. I didn't fight to find myself, just to lose it on the way. 'Cause my face is not what you say. Not even for today. I didn't fight to find myself, to throw it all away. Yeah. Because my fate is not what you say. Not ever, not today. I didn't fight to find myself, just to lose it on the way. 'Cause my fate is not what you say. Not even for today. I didn't fight to find myself, to throw it all away. Yeah.
Alright, I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Time to farm some dubs. Crap, I got a squad on my right.
I'm running in for backup.
Yo, run, he's right there in front of you.
Ugh. Sorry guys, it happened again.
Damn. This is the 10th one today.
Alright, I'm back.
Someone cover me.
Yeah, I see you. You got him, you got him, you got him! Yes! Yo, that's sweet.
Yeah, it is. We about to win this.
Guys, I can get used to this. HyperX alloy. Built strong because it has to be.
Hey everybody, and welcome back. We're coming out after that second round of the day. We're going to head into the third one real quick, but before that, let's take a look at the leaderboard and see where we've got those teams right now in terms of times. Here we go, Gauntlet leaderboard for Necrotic Wake. We've got Safe Brothers at the top there, 1150, and then we can see all those other teams, of course. Now we only have 6 teams remaining. We've already got candle holders in DCLM eliminated, of course, and we're going to get a third one eliminated after this third round very shortly. But before we get into this next dungeon, we do have an interview. We've got Gingy with us.
Hey guys.
Hello Gingy, how you doing?
I'm good. I mean, we're winning, so that obviously a great feeling, like always.
Yeah. How are you feeling about the format? It's definitely quite a bit different than how you're normally used to competing.
It's very interesting. I mean, for us, we have done these dungeons so many times, so the 30 minutes is super fine. So it doesn't really throw us off super much. However, it threw us off with the affixes because we didn't expect, like a no tyrannical or fortified. So that's really, really cool to see. I think it's really fun to play this kind of way, because you kind of need to think of stuff on the go, and that can obviously lead to a lot of mistakes. So it's definitely it's fun. I like it.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. It's cool to see you guys making those decisions on the fly. So you have those 30 minutes before you go into the dungeon. What does your team specifically focus on during that time frame?
We're focusing on how much of our MDI strats we can do without failing it. So in some cases we're cutting the strategy a little bit, and we're saying, okay, MDI strat in the beginning, and then weekly no lever for the rest of the dungeon. We're trying to find like a good balance between doing like a fast strat and also not doing a strat that requires too much control, because we don't have the same synergy that we normally do. So we need to just cut the strategies a little bit, make them a little bit slower, just to make sure that we don't wipe. So that's kind of like what we're doing.
And like speaking of the team that you're with, half of them you're kind of used to competing with, and the other half are it's kind of a little mix of players. I heard that your team kind of came together last minute. Talk to me about that.
Yes. So yesterday, we were just doing some keys on Tournament Room. We were practicing for the Great Push tourney that's coming up soon. Yeah. And then Naos told me that the Keystone Masters is this weekend, and we were like, oh damn, let's jump on it. That sounds fun. So we decided to play yesterday, and then our MDI team couldn't join, and then we were trying to look for players. So we asked whoever was around, and then we ended up playing with JB, Jay, and Canix. So it's an interesting mix, because usually people are used to seeing us playing against each other. So it's definitely fun to switch it up and play with these guys.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of fun. I'm glad you're having a good time. I'm glad your team is still kind of, having that success that you see with your normal competitive team. So I wish you luck with the rest of your keys you got going on for KSM here.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we'll see you later. Thanks for talking with us.
See you later.
I think. All right, there we go. Okay, bye, Shinji. All right, let's take a look at the leaderboard once more. We've got Spires of Ascension right here. We've got those affixes as well. And do I have my fellow co-casters back here on the desk with me, or is it just me? We
are around.
Oh, hello,
yes.
Hello, friends. What do we think about that Shinji interview? Any takeaways?
I mean, it's just unfair that one man can be so handsome and eloquent and good at a video game, and now he's a successful entrepreneur as well.
Oh, I know. Dude's got it all.
It's tough. It's tough to watch.
It's tough to be in a world with people with triple threats like that in the gaming world.
It's good to see. Whatever. It's good to see that they're having a good time. Like he's like getting on, and he's as excited for this tournament as I think everyone else is competing. So, it's cool that everyone's getting involved in it, and that they're excited to come and compete. So, absolutely.
Okay, so here's the next key, and this is going to be at plus 18. So we're back up to the plus 18 key level. But we're keeping this no tyrannical, no fortified nonsense. And this time, instead of 3 affixes that don't impact the run that much, we have the 3 new Shadowlands affixes in our dungeon today, Inspires. So Inspiring and Spiteful and Storming. Now, if you're a melee player and you were looking at these affixes, this would be this is a nightmare scenario here. This is such a brutal combination. I think teams are going to just avoid the melee entirely.
I'm going to fight you on that one. This is actually a Feral Druid buff, because Feral Druid has extended range and also damage increase from Spiteful reset. So this is actually Feral Druid, Key, just saying, for anyone.
Oh. Wait, Feral Druid has extended range?
It has extended range, yeah.
So are you able to do DPS from outside the dungeon?
That's normally where I find myself doing the DPS. I hit a lot of target dummies, Ouroboros runs, that kind of thing.
What is he playing that geography game?
Yeah, GeoGuessr. That's a picture of Yumy TV.
Excuse me, Yumy TV. You have a competition going on.
He's trying to locate.
That was really close. So it's good job. Hey, so real quick, before we get into talking about this practice here, I've got a couple shout-outs that I do want to get through real quick. Huge shout-outs to Uberblinken. This guy is consistently gifting out subs to this channel. A tremendous supporter of the stream. 86 total subs. He just gave away 10, so if you just got dodged, I'm sorry for you. sucks to suck, but maybe we'll get him in the next round. So thank you so much to everyone that has gifted subs. Huge shout out to Uber Blinken as well. Also, exclamation giveaway in the chat. HyperX family has provided us with an entire set of peripherals from HyperX. There's a keyboard, there's a mouse, there's all kinds of good stuff in there. So more giveaways on that exclamation giveaway in chat. So thank you so much to HyperX for sponsoring this stream. And here we've got a lovely view of now as they're about to head into this dungeon.
Yeah, I'm not sure what inspired Sarah to be this spiteful to make this team storm the dungeons like that, but I'm not a fan of these
I bet you're feeling pretty full of pride after that one, huh?
Oh my
good one.
god.
Oh. Good one.
Lithy's upset he didn't think of that one himself.
Wow, well.
No, self-praise is not something to do,
But no, I think going into this dungeon, I think this is a really, like, I actually like these affixes. Okay, I don't normally like these affixes, but I like it in this setting. It's non-tyrannical, non-fortified. It's gonna just be a lot of, dodging. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. If you can dodge it, if you can dodge a tornado, dodge a spiteful, there's gonna be a lot of matrix shenanigans going on in this key. And I think we're gonna see a lot of people just, I always say, just ride the wave, just embrace the wave, just let it carry you. Let those gusts of wind just take you up into the air. And
it's the 5 Ds of dungeons.
Exactly.
Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge.
And deplete is the final D of that one. But yeah, I mean, we're going to it's an 18 again, so a decent size key there, Lithy, I think. And it seems like people are just jumping in, or it seems like people jump in with an initial composition and then give it a few attempts and then change from there. Do you think that's what people are trying to do, or do you think they already have it? I mean, no one's got this one planned out with Storming, Inspiring, Spiteful, surely.
Isn't now playing DPS?
No, he's playing
it's Retribution
Paladin.
Aura. Retribution Aura. I was reading Retribution Paladin. I was like, wait, is he playing red? What is happening here? No, he's actually on the prop Paladin, just running the Retribution Aura. So, yeah, definitely interesting poll going into the first one here. And JB pops his Ashen Hollow, gonna annihilate the boss and nothing else. Yeah, definitely helps that you have neither fortified nor tyrannical here in this dungeon. I actually love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And on an 18 level, again, this is just going to mess with people's minds, though, because they're so used to having these timings based on it being fortified or tyrannical. And I think this is really going to mess with people's minds, where they just have packs where they go, all right, well, this is a difficult pack. Let's commit our cooldowns. And then the pack falls over and they go, oh, we didn't need to do all of that. Maybe we should have held a little bit of. So it's going to be interesting how they figure it out. I mean, we heard in the Gingy interview there a moment ago where he said they start the key with how close can we go to the MDI, and then how much can we just go weekly no lever at the end there. And they're clearly getting warmed up here, because you just saw Gingy they're all getting sniped from these pride bolts that are shooting out. So they're clearly just scoping things out to begin with.
So hard.
Yeah, they're dying.
Oh no,
Canix goes down.
Now dropping
what
low.
is it? Are they just dying to this pride? How many stacks does it have?
A lot.
It's at 20 stacks. Is that 1% health?
Yep.
Oh, what a miserable place to wipe.
That's unfortunate. Actually, a talking point I'd kind of like to pass on to Dratnos a little bit. The discussion between tyrannical and fortified routes. You'd basically assume that running with a tyrannical route without actually having the boss's tyrannical is gonna net you better results here. But how big is the impact of losing tyrannical on a tyrannical route actually? Like, what do you think is the time difference when you get to pulse? How much does it disalign cooldowns?
Yeah, I mean, it is really interesting to not have either of those affixes active, because with both fortified and tyrannical, you put these cooldowns where you need them, and you don't need them. Like, it's not like you need them in the fortified spot or the tyrannical spot, right? You kind of get to reassess. With the other affixes that are going on, though, I would say that this is going to be trash difficulty in particular. Like, I think that the trash will be harder than the bosses, unless you are pulling trash onto bosses and prides onto bosses, which it did look like the Steve Brooders were attempting to make happen there. So if you're going to do something like that, if you're going to do a pride onto a boss, I think you're going to need all your coolies for that. Other than that, I think we're going to see more fortified kind of default plans from the teams, because I think when you have, Inspiring, Storming, and Spiteful all active in those big trash pools, even without fortified, I think that some of those are still going to require a lot of work. What I'm really curious about is what the teams are going to do about stuff like the Triple Angels at the end, whether we're going to see teams attempt to pull all three together and make them all go down at the same time, or whether that's just too risky for this kind of low practice teams that they're not as familiar with. Almost every team in this tournament is some combination of people that don't always play together, but got together for this one event, which means that they don't have all that experience of playing against those sorts of pulls. But it is going to be such a wrench to throw into things. I mean, it's just, I can't overstate how used to Tyrannical and Fortified everybody is. I've done some Tournament Realm keys with both Tyrannical and Fortified active during previous MDI practice season before we knew any affixes, just to kind of mess around and test stuff. And it's so weird. And I assume that when neither is active, it is also extremely, extremely weird. And you just kind of have to relearn everything about how you're gonna structure your path through the dungeon. I'm incredibly curious to see what teams are going to be able to do. Especially, if you look at what Steve Brooders are doing, they're trying to set up this extreme 4-minute damage cooldown comp with 2 paladins in their run, 2 Ashen Allies potentially. That is so much damage on a 4-minute cadence, but there's not a tyrannical boss to throw it into.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have something to add there, Lithy? I don't want to cut you off.
Feel free to go.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, I agree with what Jonas is saying there in terms of it just being a little bit alien here for these teams. And I was then going to move on and just say, for anyone in chat wondering what's kind of going on, how are they able to go out and reset the key and what this is all about? So we basically have, 6 teams remaining currently that are all competing at exactly the same time. Each team is going to be given, all the teams are going to have the dungeon and the affixes revealed to them. And then they have 30 minutes from that point to figure out what comp they're running, what route they're going, and to practice as much as they can. And then they have one official attempt where all the teams are going to have to, start that official attempt at exactly the same moment. And then we see who is the slowest of the 6 teams. That team will then be eliminated from the competition. So it's basically who cannot be the slowest in this one. So that's what the teams are trying to do here. That's what they're trying to practice for. And we'll see how they do. But Lithy, why don't you jump on? I think my mic's having a few issues here for the moment, so you can lead us through.
We are currently checking in with mode. We see a Spiteful hodged up because you really don't want to get meleeed by that. They spawned a Prideful into the boss fight, so getting rid of some trash beforehand, hitting 40% of the boss. Also Maystine here on the Shaman getting sniped with one of these Prideful bolts. You really need to get your positioning in order to get out of this whole situation. There's another trash mob getting out of CC, getting back into the polymorph there, and it's really just bursting out this Prideful, which is working out quite well for these guys. And with the remaining Prideful buff, they can just run down the last 50% of this boss fight. So overall, looking pretty decent at 2 minutes 43. I'd say they finished the boss at about 3 minutes 10, 15. And move on to the next, what do you call it? Panther pack, cat pack, lions, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know what animal they are. They're kind of like a cross between a tiger and I don't even know, like a bear. Probably a bear, dude.
Lion.
Everything in the game is a bear. Have you ever noticed if you play with people and like the Goggins in halls? People will call those bears. They'll call the Pride Mob bear.
They look like bears. Let's be honest there.
That's a dog. You're wrong.
Well, everyone
what
just
is
calls
wrong
them
with
bears.
the EU region? They're dogs.
We just don't have many bears in our backyards.
In our defense, we have Russian players, and a lot of them have bears as pets, don't they? So I think that's probably where the bear thing comes from. But maybe. Yeah, 4 legs equals bear, exactly. I'm so used to things being bears, I even named myself after one. But Lithy, what do you think about the affixes so far, do you think that they've been holding up the teams too much? It seems like these initial pulls that they're doing and leading into the first boss, that it's looking fairly comfortable. Definitely nowhere near as much of a struggle as that Necrotic Wake first pull is. What do you think about that?
Yeah, totally agree with you there. It's not as much struggle just because the pull is a lot smaller. It's less risky, and you don't have an affix in there that just can flat out one shot you. While we had 2 of them in Necrotic Wake. So as Gingy mentioned in the interview earlier, it's basically see how much of the usual strats you can run here, and I think you can utilize a lot of the usual strats here, and the biggest difficulty is what Dranos mentioned: getting your timings right. See how you play non-fortified, non-tyrannical in terms of CDs, where you can pull trash into bosses and where it's a little bit too much. Where is the prideful spawning into boss fights, for example, what we've seen the Stiefbrüders drive to earlier on in their practice, and then just realigning and adjusting your route according to that. That is going to be the biggest hurdle so far. And yeah, to get back to your question, that kind of leads to that. You don't really have too much difficulty at the start of the dungeon here, but it's definitely going to something that's building on top of each other. Like, where do you go into the next big polls? Which polls do you do a little bit smaller than usual, etc., etc.
Yeah, and we're definitely seeing the fan of or people being fans of these triple ranged group comps. A lot of people opting for the Balanced Druid, the Elemental, and the Fire Mage. I don't know. Maybe if we could jump to the 6 screens again, we could see if there are any just interesting comps around the teams anywhere. But it does seem like everyone's opting for that triple range. I don't think we have a single melee in here apart from the Holy Paladins. But do those truly count? We see French as well, actually. They're actually they're on the second boss. That looks like they're going just for the full run completion as well. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, they seem to be going a little further. I think pvEheroes are a little bit further into the run as well. They're just before the second boss, and the Stiefbrüders are somewhere, I think, on the first platform after the first boss. So all the teams opting to do a little bit more of a full clear practice than just majority first pulls, as we've seen with the Necrotic Wake. And here, once again, basically the usual for this one. Actually, the squad captain taken out early.
I lied a little bit, and maybe if we could jump over to Frenchs+Ragnar, please, that would be great, because they are running a Windwalker, I think.
Oh no!
What?
Look, man. Okay, I played some Windwalker with Storming. I played some Windwalker with Spiteful, and I could not imagine playing with both of those. But that is exactly what Reactors is doing here. No. That is just horrifying
Monka
to
S
me.
is in the chat, boys.
Yeah.
No, you know what you do? If you're Reactors right now, you get hit from a Storming and you Whirling Dragon Punch off the back of it, and you actually ascend into the heavens and you become a true Kyrian, and then you get flight for the rest of the key or something, because you would just take off. Like, you would just keep going. I don't know if you'd ever fall back down, but this is a brave decision. Reactors coming out with the curveballs from the Outlaw Rogue and Necrotic Wake, the only one of his kind. Now coming in with the Windwalker. This is beautiful. I like to see. This is what I wanted from this competition. So power to him.
Is that a thing? Like, intentionally getting hit by mechanics you can dodge, or?
For many players I play with, yes. Some would argue they don't know that they can dodge them, but
fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. These guys actually putting a hold on their practice run here, so we don't actually get any Windwalker action until a little bit later.
Yeah, they're huffing out, probably looking for a reset. They didn't look to continue the latter, I guess, like the last third of the dungeon. It might just be that section of the dungeon is so like rehearsed that they don't really see the point, right? Because all you have left is you have 2 non-elite trash packs, or maybe even just the one. You have a boss, and then you go up to the last boss where you have the 3 mini bosses. So unless they really want to try the 3 mini bosses together and try and do that one big pull, they're probably just going to say, let's reset, let's go back to the beginning and try the more difficult stuff. You think that's probably fair to say, Lithy?
Absolutely, yeah. Always a little bit depends on what your team feels comfortable about and what your team thinks should have some extra practice. So if there's a team that thinks the Triple Angel pool needs some extra practice, it's definitely recommendable to, well, just try to get there as fast as possible and knock some practice out on that one. Since we're, I think, at about halftime for practice runs at the moment. And yeah, if you're more struggling with the first half of the dungeon, then definitely go for that one.
Did you just see now? He's eating. He's having his dinner, dude. Mommy's made probably some spaghetti or something, and he's having a little bit of that. He's chilling on this one. He is relaxed as can be. So nice to know that they're getting their nutrition in during this. You got to make sure you're staying hydrated.
He's
and
carb loading.
He's yeah. Apparently, yeah. Maybe he's
probably
got some
fettuccine alfredo or something, you know.
Potentially.
Can we not talk about food? I'm getting hungry.
Yeah, true. That was a bad pull, but yeah. I mean, I was gonna mention earlier when we were talking about the team comp so far. Do you have a particular team that has really like stood out to you today, or someone that you've really been impressed by? Like, do you have like a player of the day so far, or team of the day that you've really been impressed by, or for whatever reason at all, Lithie?
So the first obvious choice for me would basically be Reactor, just being bold enough to play a melee on this one with the Windwalker. Also played the Rogue on Necrotic Wake, so that is one of the players that definitely stood out to me. Other than that, I'd gotta be quite honest. It's a little bit too early on in the runs to really get a good glimpse of who's playing what and who makes big plays. But in general, I'm in general a big fan of Mode. I'm a huge fan of JB. In general, the healers are more or less the stars of the show for me, mostly. A little bit because I play healers myself, but that's usually the guys I'm watching, because they have to keep everyone alive during the stupid pulse they are doing.
Yeah, they gotta babysit. They're like the mother ducklings, aren't they? And they gotta make sure all the little ducklings are accounted for, and they're not misbehaving, and they're actually pressing their DPS buttons when they need to, and making sure that they're not getting up to any mischief. But we did see a moment ago, I mean, pvEheroes are doing a very nice pull here into the third boss here, Orifrion. I never know how to pronounce this guy's name, but this Orphy boy they're going to deal with here. But we saw the Stiefbrüders, they attempted quite a big trash pull that didn't go that well for him. It did seem to, like, that they died quite quickly. They did commit the Kyrian Spear. It'll be interesting to see if they do attempt that again and do commit practice time to that, because we've only got around 10 minutes left on this practice time. So whatever they end up doing, they've got to commit to it pretty quickly. So we'll see what they end up going for. It seems like a lot of these teams are just committing to the more careful, more secure pulls that they can deal with here. Like this pull into Apherion isn't that bad. They have one pack of non-elite mobs, and they kind of just burst them down and deal with the boss there. So, it seems to be working out for him. Seems to be effective use of pulls here.
They're actually doing fairly well. 50 minutes into the dungeon, that is absolutely a respectable time. Running that boss down pretty hard, actually. So that one is dead. Only the angels upstairs left. Trash-wise, 87%. You kind of have to confirm for me if that is enough.
Yes, that will be enough.
Count scale, but I would assume so. And with the triple angels, that's the interesting point coming up. As Dranos touched on earlier, it's really interesting to see if the teams actually go for that one or not, because that's not necessarily something you would have practiced if you're not a seasoned MDI veteran of this season.
Yeah, and maybe Dranos might pop in and confirm that or not. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean, here's the thing, right? That pull is really hard. Is really scary. Now, Fortified isn't active. Storming is a little bit of a pain there, but mostly you're dealing with just the pull with no affixes, which is still hard. The thing is, how aggressive versus how conservative can you be now that there are 6 teams left? when there were 8 teams in this tournament, I thought there was always a good chance that, one of those 8 teams would have something go horribly wrong. And so you just take a slower and safer strategy. And as long as you don't wipe, you should be safe, right? You should get through the next round. Now that we're down to 6, I mean, at some point here, we're going to be down to 2 teams, right? And you're just going to be 1v1 up against a really, really strong team. Somewhere between 8 and 2, it switches to where you actually need to start taking those big risks. My guess is that the Triple Angel is so risky and so dangerous, even on 18, even without Fortified, that you should still not do it. My thinking is that at this point, it's still going to be safer to just do that pull, and somebody else is going to screw it up, and that'll get you through to the next round. But I don't know for sure. I mean, these teams are all really good at this point. Every single team has these incredible veterans on them I mean, you could definitely end up losing because of that too.
Yeah. What makes the Triple Angel pull actually that hard? Is it just the damage they put out, or what is there as well additionally?
Yeah, so you have a lot that's going on there. There's the AoE damage coming out, and the auras stacking up as well. So by the end, you're in a lot of danger. And you've got the spears that you're needing to dodge, and the frontals as well, and the leaps. So all of the mobs have their own things that you need to be watching out for position-wise. And then you need to kill them all within like 2 seconds of the first one dying. And if you just kill one too early, and then the later two full heal, that's actually worse. Like killing 2 of those things after you've killed one is basically impossible at that point. You have to do them one at a time from there. Because they each inherit the abilities from the one that died, and so you effectively are kind of fighting 4 at the same time at that point, and it's no longer possible. So you really need everything to die within that one little window. That's part of the reason that Windwalker is so good here, is because you have Touch of Death as an equalizer. You just throw that on whichever one is highest health as soon as the first dies. And that can really help. That's one of the big reasons that spec sees play and MDI levels in this dungeon. And if you can get away with it with the affixes, I mean, that does make that pull safer. But yeah, I mean, it's just so much damage coming out in the group, so much stuff that can just one-shot you, and a tight DPS coordination check that you kind of need to slow down and stop damage and do damage priority at the end, which is not easy to do because that's also when the highest damage is coming out.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not just the angel pulls that have high damage. We can see the prideful here as well with some trash, and that is just looking almost devastating. But Bazook doing pretty well on the Holy Paladin here to keep his team alive. And we'll see some angels pulled into those bars as well. So they will just be nuking away at the whole situation here. And in general, with 30 minutes 48, I think they're on a pretty decent pace as well. And thinking back to the MDI Grand Finals, I think the average time we've seen there on it plus 20 key, of course, was around the 22-minute mark, 21:50, 21:40.
Yeah, definitely in that region.
Above that. So the teams we've seen so far getting to the last boss or the last 3 angel packs at like 15 minutes, 50 minutes, 30, doing actually really respectable times.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's things to consider. The fact that they're doing a Keystone level 18, not a Keystone level 20, and also they don't have Fortified or Tyrannical attached. However, they are playing with Inspiring, Spiteful, and Storming, so there's some kind of balancing there to do, and you can probably tally up which one you think is worse. I think I'd rather have a 20 key with Fortified and some better affixes than these, but maybe that's because I'm a melee brain, so this wouldn't fare well for me. But one thing I'm interested in knowing as well from these teams is whether they're going to look to skip the final pride of the dungeon, because if you're very careful, when the angels die, you actually have a little bit of time before the prideful mob does spawn. So you have a bit of leeway to run to the edge of the platform and just put a nice little prideful right there into the corner, and then just not go anywhere near that area of the platform for the whole rest of the key. And that's quite easy to do when all you have left is a non-tyrannical boss. But you do have to be careful because there are the orbs to collect, and there's people getting pushed around, and there's the bait that you have to do with the boss doing the run-through mechanic where it's going to charge to a particular player. So there's definitely things that they, it definitely can get pulled. And the funny thing is that the Pride actually gets blown off the edge during the like orb mechanic when the boss flies away in the intermission. So the Prideful gets blown off the edge, and then mentally in your head you think, oh yeah, okay, there's like, we just kill the boss, and then you run over to the corner, and then it's like, oh no, the Pride is actually still there. So you do have to be a little bit careful of that, but I'm sure that these guys will know what they're doing here on this one. So one thing I'm curious about, Lithy, is so this is a tournament that is open to NA and European players here, and I gotta wonder whether there is an NA EU advantage. And I definitely in this specific instance think that there is a very clear EU advantage, because the US players or the NA players have only had breakfast and lunch by this point, whereas as we can see from now, they've already had dinner as well. So they're getting a clear advantage there from getting the dinner buff. What do you think about that? Do you think that's going to have any kind of impact on that EU NA difference?
That's a really good question. I would raise you the fact that most EU WoW gamers have absolutely degenerate sleep schedules, so you can't even go with the usual, well, we're on EU dinner time, so they have had dinner. I don't think that's something you could go with, and we would have to inspect this whole thing in a case-by-case study. With that, a little bit difficult to nail down who exactly is benefiting from a proper food buff and who isn't,
Apparently it was green beans as well. It's like a full dinner with like chicken and like mashed potatoes or something like that. But the thing that Now was munching on was green beans. So he's getting his fiber in, getting his veggies in, and he's gonna get ready for that dungeon, because that is the end of practice. That was a 30 minutes that they were allotted for that time, and we're gonna get into that very soon. We are gonna head to a break, and when we come back, we're gonna head into that dungeon. We'll be right back.
All right, I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Time to farm some dubs. Crap, I got a squad on my right.
I'm running in for backup.
Yo, Ron, he's right there in front of you.
Ugh. Sorry guys, it happened again.
Damn. This is the 10th one today.
All right, I'm back.
Someone cover me.
Yeah, I see you. You got him, you got him, you got him! Yes! Yo, that's sweet.
Yeah, it is. We about to win this.
Guys, I can get used to this. HyperX alloy. Built strong because it has to be.
Our third and final dungeon of the day. The rest of those dungeons will be played tomorrow, and we'll have one team remaining at the end of all of those rounds. Of course, at the end of every single round, that slowest time, the team with the slowest time gets eliminated. We've seen a couple teams already go home, and we're about to see just one more go home before the end of the day. And we can take a look at this ready check. Chat, you can click on the screen here if you have Twitch extensions enabled, so click yes or no if you're ready to go here. And I think these players are ready to go. They got 30 minutes to prepare, and now we're going to get into the real thing here, Dratnos. How do you feel like this key compares to that last one that we just saw? I mean, we know they're a little bit surprised by the fixes and by the level as well of that Keystone. Do you think it's going to be a surprise here for this one as well for these players?
Yeah, I think that this is going to be a very different feel than the Necrotic Wake. You know, the Necrotic Wake was like easy affixes, low key, and even though both of these keys have something in common, which is no tyrannical, no fortified, I think that this key is going to feel much more intensive. It's a longer dungeon, which means with only 30 minutes practice time, there's a lot less of the dungeon that you can practice. Particularly, there's basically no pulls that you get to practice twice except for the first couple pulls of the dungeon. This is going to be a hugely grueling experience because they need to be getting quickly through those hard pulls in the middle of the dungeon.
All right, it looks like we're going to get started in that dungeon. I think the clicks have become more of a popularity contest. I think Drados is winning every time. Yeah. Dungeon is ready to go here. Spires of Ascension, last dungeon of the day.
Hell yeah, jumping right in. We have some massive pulls on each of these teams, and we can see them going quite nicely for everyone so far. A little bit of a difference here for Frenchs+Ragnar. They are pulling those mobs down the stairs a little bit to have some more room to kite these spiteful mobs, I'm assuming. And of course, because one of the inspiring mobs that was upstairs there kind of got left behind. They didn't want to play with it during that whole thing. So they'll be going on to ride the angels next to the next platform in just a little bit. And who asked the only other team still on those stairs? Everyone else already moving on to the next platform, the next trash pull, and with that, basically the next boss as well. But here, Psy, it's kind of a little bit of a unfortunate thing that we have one more Forsworn that's left here that spawns a Spiteful, because you have to wait until the Spiteful is gone before you can use the angel.
That is one of the difficulties with this dungeon is you get to a point where you're like, right, group's done, let's go, and then a Spiteful spawns and you have to go and commit time to just dealing with that mob before you can then move on again. It is a little bit of additional time added, so the cleaner that you can kill all the mobs in unison, the better, but at the end of the day, it's not that much of a deal. I'm sure that the difference between the teams won't be, 5 or 10 seconds, but we'll see. You never know what it may come down to. But so far, it looks like most of these teams here are executing pretty much what they did in practice. So far, so good in terms of solid use of that practice time. Again, the teams only had 30 minutes. They didn't know what the teams have not known what the dungeons or the affixes are going to be this weekend. So when we're seeing what the dungeons are going to be, that's when they're seeing it for the first time. So they are going into it with literally 30 minutes of prep time. So it keeps things fast paced. It keeps things, keeps people guessing. It reduces the amount of practice time that you're putting into this. And do we get a dodge? Oh no! Sjeletyven getting sniped. He was running from that Spiteful. That would have been one for the YouTube montage, but that is A-okay. He's not going to die. He's going to keep living there. I know definitely during the practice session, he was talking about how, he gets, Sjeletyven, you naughty boy. He gets hit by another one there, but again, he's going to defy us and he's going to continue to live. He's not going down without a fight. And they managed to dispatch of the Pride. It should be plain sailing from here on out. But Sjeletyven was explaining earlier about how he can just keep the group alive with, I think he's playing Night Fae Elemental. Apparently it's doing really, really well right now. Apparently it's doing a lot of damage and things from what he says. So if he's happy with that, then I'm happy. And he was saying about how he can just, keep people alive with ancestral guidance and helping out with some of the healing in various areas. So that's nice that they've got access to Sjeletyven there helping out on a little bit of the healing, and he's prepared to jump in and do some of that. But But yeah,
Shaman definitely a great pick for M+ currently, as you mentioned. Lots of utility, lots of off-healing for the group. We've seen that in arenas especially as well, that the Shamans are pumping like crazy on off-healing. So it's definitely a good thing to have that in there as well. And of course, that's not even touching on the massive amount of damage they are doing at the moment. And Maysteen also looking hot on that Elemental Shaman mode. Again, on the Paladin, something he has picked up recently, kind of forced to do so through the MDI, and being more and more comfortable on that class over time. Now going into the Lions poll, that's a pretty substantial one as well, especially for the tank. Lepan opening up with the sack immediately, and after he got enough aggro, he can go and kite. And for the moment, that seems to be working out quite nicely for everyone. They're just nuking this one down. And of course, if you have these massive pulls with these cats, you gotta clump up the Spitefuls afterward and kind of stay away from that. Also something that really benefits from having a full caster group, because they don't have to camp in melee and get unlucky with some good old Spiteful claps there.
Yeah, and Lithy, I don't like to go in on my co-casters here, but you did call those bears lions for a moment and cats, and I just want to make sure we're very clear here that those are in fact bears. So if you could refer to them as they should, be referred to, then I would be much happier with you. So the bear pack, yes. These are also bears that they're going to be pulling in here. These flying Ether Diver bears are going to be pulled in. They're going to pull these in with the Goliaths here, which are also bears, and they're just going to beat them down, pummel them, committing the Bloodlust, I think? No. I don't know if they actually get the Bloodlust up there, but they are going to look for... No, Bloodlust is still on cooldown for another 6 minutes. Yeah.
But mode actually going down. Maysteen as well. It's looking grisly on this bear pack here right now. Not a position you want to be in if you are who asked. And that is going to cost them some time. But the battle reses are coming out, and they are back on their feet.
Literally zero room for improvement on this pull. That was perfectly executed. No, okay, maybe they just go down a little bit one too many times. They are out of battle reses, but they're gonna get back up on their feet and run back to those packs to finish them off. Now we do see pvEheroes. They're just, what a beautiful transition there. They have just finished off the pack that we saw there from the side of, who were we just looking at? We were just looking at Mode's team, weren't we? So yeah, so
West, yeah.
We see pvEheroes actually pulling off that pull fairly comfortably, just showing the level of expertise in this team here. And I mean, like we said, we've got some veterans in the tournament this weekend, some very, very strong players. Speaking of which, we've got Stiefbruders coming in here. They're going to go for a big pull here. They don't care about that inspired mob. They're going to pull it in anyway. Now just getting in the thick of it, fueled by green beans and chicken tendies, and everything's melting. We can't see a damage meter because now actually he's got his details set to deaths. Clearly that's what he wants to be tracking. That's the main feature in this dungeon that he wants to be aware of. So who knows what magical numbers we reach there. We can't even discuss the mechanics in that pull because there weren't any. They just absolutely evaded them all. So
also beautiful use of the Kyrian spear in this dungeon. So similar to Necrotic Wake, you have a few spears you can pick up if you're a member of the Kyrian Covenant that you can use throughout this dungeon. Basically stuns everything in a circle area around it if you use it, and does a good chunk of damage, I think, or
it increases damage taken by 100%, I believe. So
there you go. So they take more damage, you just completely annihilate a pack. Very, very good use here. And we can see those mobs being pulled aside by Gingy on the mage, so everyone can get to this transition early. And you just want to jump as far as possible so you get boosted back up to the next platform.
Eating.
Yeah, you're still eating. I mean, gotta stay hydrated, gotta stay powered up, and it's obviously working out for them. 8 minutes 30 already on the platform with the trash before the second boss, and they're not even caring about the squad captain here. They're just completely annihilating this pack as well. And Jay with the elemental shaman blasting as hard as he is on the mage, usually looking good so far. And of course, we haven't even touched on the prot paladin from now coming in, and I'd suspect to a certain level. Maybe that's the Korean pick for the dungeon because the other classes don't really want to go Korean.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, you don't want to lose, you don't want JB going Kyrian. You want to keep him on the Ashen Hallow Venthia pick. I mean, Fire Mages are what, they're Night Fae, aren't they? Canucks could be a good option as a Kyrian, but I feel like going Night Fae is just, a little bit better. I feel like Kyrian is picked potentially in some higher level keys, but or for like rating and that kind of thing. But I think Night Fae is the better pick in general for dungeons. So yeah, I would say you want to go for now being the Kyrian pick here. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And they definitely want those spears, so it's definitely worth committing to that. And I mean, the squadron leader in that previous pack, like they have to be. It's crazy that they do that pull and just don't really care about it, because that mob reduces the area of damage or AoE damage taken by the surrounding mobs. So it lengthens the time taken to kill that pack. So the fact that they just pull everything in and just DPS it down and don't care too much is really cool. They don't summon the pride there as well. So based on their trash percent, they're going to be looking to summon their pride elsewhere. I know if you do keys on live, that's normally a point of pride spawning. But obviously in this tournament, you don't really want to go back on yourself. So going and clearing, one section of the platform after the first boss and then having to go back on yourself is just a little bit of a waste of time when you can just pull packs later on in the dungeon. And when we actually pull back to this 6-screen view here, Lithia, is there anything that jumps out to you in particular? I mean, it looks like all the teams are at a similar point. Like they're all either just killing the second boss or they're just about to pull it.
I love how close behind the Stiefbrothers pvEheroes are. They are on a really good pace. I think, let's say, 10-15 seconds behind them, which is a really, really strong time, and Eclatax as well. So these teams are really crystallizing themselves out as basically the top 3 teams here over the past 3 runs, including this one. And you can see a nice trick on the side of Eclatax. It can actually already click the angel coming in from the back as soon as the bot is dead. You don't need to run up to the edge of the platform. So these guys are getting on to that ride a little bit earlier. And on the other hand, well, the other 3 teams, Frenchs+Ragnar, who asked, and 4 Danes, 1 Swede, they are now getting to the second boss. And with that, also another 3 teams that are really neck to neck. So this is shaping up to be really, really intense, especially towards the end of the dungeon, to see which team is actually dropping out here and which team will take top 3 places. Because, man, these are not giving in an inch.
Yeah, absolutely. And just speaking of the teams in general here this weekend that we have assembled, just real big, props to them, hats off to them. They've all done a fantastic job. Even DCLM, our first elimination team, I know, hey, what a way to go, right? That fall down and just the laughter and the enjoyment going on there from DCLM, it's just been a great tournament so far. And I know that they were discussing, DCLM specifically, they were discussing the fact of hey, when can we all play and stuff, after they found out that they'd actually qualified yesterday. I saw them discussing when they can all get on and fit some more practice time in and that kind of thing. So it's really cool that, these teams are coming in and just giving it their best shot. And also the fact that this tournament is helping that style of play for some of these teams that, maybe it's their first time competing, or, maybe they're just giving it a shot this once. And because of the format where they only need the on the day prep time, then they can give up their Saturday, they can give up their Sunday, and that's literally all they're committing. They're not committing a full week or a few weeks before the event, and they can actually jump in here, give it their best shot, maybe take home, a trophy, maybe take home a bit of money as well, and a sense of pride and achievement in what they've been able to accomplish. So hats off to the teams and the format here. But yeah, go ahead.
Being a bit prideful for storming a dungeon is pretty good. So
definitely hitting with them again.
Giving it to those guys. learning from you, Psy. Learning from the best.
Oh, that can't be good. You don't want to learn from me.
Well, I did start playing Feral Druids, so there you have it already. But we're swapping over to the pvEheroes, who are doing pretty well, other than Feral Druids usually are in keys. So they are on the third boss already, 80%. We're just wait for the next orb drops, and once he goes into that channel phase, that boss is going to get annihilated like crazy and won't be for much longer. So Boomy just gathering some resources here before the cooldowns actually pop in there. I'm expecting a big convo coming in soon. there's the next round of drops. Actually, a storming coming
Very
in there
clean.
at a very unfortunate time, but everyone managed to get to dodge that. So here's the Bloodlust, the big pump. They are getting in there like crazy, actually wiping because no one is soaking those orbs. Super unfortunate. Well, they're not wiping, but the Boomy is dead, which you hate to see. Yeah,
that was so peculiar.
unlucky.
Dajn was in position. I don't know if maybe he was just like he jumped in the way of them, but maybe he was just too far inside of the boss or something, and so they hit. But it only killed Fem there. Everyone else held on pretty comfortably. So that was. Wow,
Remember
that was close.
how you were selling caster curses on Twitter, and
Yeah.
I was calling you out that you're basically just channeling my energy. So this kind of confirms it, right?
I was allowing people to PayPal me money in exchange for me cursing the teams with my caster curse, but you know what? I haven't checked today. I don't think anyone went for it, unfortunately.
I do that shit for free.
I mean, you know, no takers on that one, unfortunately, but, you know, there's always time. But pvEheroes, they managed to hang on there. They get Fem up and they just finish off the boss. No big deal there. They had a slight time loss because obviously Fem dies during the period of time where he would actually be wanting to pop CA, pop Convoke, and burst down the boss. We just missed it to see if pvEheroes were going to go for the triple mini boss. It would be cool to check in with them again, actually, and see if they do go with that. But Sheeprooters, they're actually, 60 minutes now? The boss is almost dead. And okay, so we jump back to pvEheroes.
They're actually faster than Sheeprooters?
They're doing 2. They're doing 2, not 3. And they might. I think they might be. I think they're similar in time now, aren't they? So I believe that pvEheroes are actually in the lead on this one, it looks like.
Impressive, actually. So they made up a good chunk of time. We have the lovely picture-in-picture here, absolutely beautiful. So Sheeprooters are only just now going up to that next platform, looking to pull the first angels. But first, we need to see if pvEheroes actually manage. And Ratner's talked about it earlier. These guys need to die basically at the same time, so they got to step up their damage on the second one for the moment. Now they seem to be more or less even. Still need to dodge those black swirls coming out from the spears. Divine Field, of course, getting trucked like crazy, using his meta there to stay alive. Both angels on 1%, and they both go down at the same time. Beautifully played by the pvEheroes, and now they have just one angel and the last boss, Davos herself, left to do, and they are 16 minutes, 45 seconds in. Absolutely great time so far from these guys. Great run.
One thing I want to jump in on is how clean the movement of the team was. The coordination, where you see the 3 DPS players, they're all stacked on top of each other. You see they're baiting these spears out to range as best they can. Of course, some may go in on melee where, you know, the tank and Divine and Desire standing in melee range. But you're watching the range, they stack up in this position. They're then going to just move in a very predetermined pattern around the room. Oh, and I mean, there's a little bit of a split there, but maybe that's just a little bit of a Fem panic there. Oh, no, he's just pre-prepping because the mob was almost finished. They're going to actually be looking to skip the Pride here, so they do go for the Invis. The Stampeding Roar comes out from Fem. Good change for Balanced Druids having that. That's absolutely wonderful to see, but the Pride does get pulled. Unfortunately, they don't manage to do it.
That's unfortunate. Sorry to cut in. If we could take a look at Sheeprooters, I actually would like to know where they're at. They might be doing 3 angels or might be already done with it. They did 3 angels and just blasted through on the boss. That's absolutely crazy. Just making up that lost time versus pvEheroes, getting in there, completely clapping the last part of the dungeon and being in the boss fight.
Wow, what a slingshot maneuver, huh?
Massive.
They just went, they just jumped right into the lead there with that triple pull, but it's not easy to do. And I think if anyone is going to do it, I definitely think that Sheeprooters are capable of doing it. There are probably some other teams. I wouldn't be surprised if pvEheroes can do it, but it's a case of, do you risk it? And at this point in the competition, you're down to the last 6. If you wipe in that place, if you wipe with, 2 of the mobs still left alive, you got to come all the way back. You lose the time with the deaths, and then you got to kill the mobs again with no cooldowns. It's just not worth it. I don't think if you don't really, really have to. You can definitely secure still a solid position, still get second or third, and not have to worry about potentially losing and being the slowest team, because this competition isn't about who's the fastest yet. It is rapidly getting there, but it doesn't really matter if you're second, third place or whatever. Just don't be the last. So teams being smart here, being calculated, and saying it's not worth the risk. Let's just keep it safe.
Eclatax actually the last team to join up at the top there, if I see that correctly. Everyone else already on the Angels or done. We see who asked at this moment, popping some invis pods to skip that prideful spawn, and other than be the pvEheroes, they're actually managing to. And this is looking quite solid for Dajn's one Swede. They are in there as well. They used the Kyrian Spear just now, so team's looking actually pretty good. For Dajn's one Swedes, are they actually doing 3 Angels or just 2? That looks like 2, right?
I'm for Dajn's. I was looking at Eclatax. It looks like they're doing 3. But for Dajn's one Swede, they're down at the bottom right, aren't they? I don't actually know. I can't see. It looks like all the Angels are dead. Whether they did all 3, I'm not sure.
Well, they got
they still
quite nicely though.
Yeah, they killed. So they're going on to the boss there. Yeah, but I didn't see if they did all 3 or not on 4 Dajns. Maybe if we get some confirmation, that'd be great. But it looked like Eclatax did all. Oh wait, what happened with Eclatax?
Eclatax are now just going up to the last platform. They've been behind a little bit since the 3rd boss. So it's basically at the moment between pvEheroes and Stiefbruders, and just checking at Eclatax there, 21 minutes, 20 seconds, and 4 Dajns, 1 Swede at 21 minutes as well, but they are in the middle of the Devos boss fight, so they are a good chunk ahead of it. And yeah, this is looking pretty solid. I'm really curious who's gonna win it between Stiefbruders and pvEheroes, of course. But at the moment, we've got a finish time of 20 minutes 32 seconds for the pvEheroes. Really good run.
So their time that's locked in now. pvEheroes 20 minutes 32 seconds. That's locked in. We'll see what the other teams are capable of. We'll see what Stiefbruders have pulled out as well to see. They've got a wait. What did we just say? Because they're at 2043 on the side of Stiefbruders. What did pvEhero have? 2032 was it?
pvEheroes pulling ahead, finishing it about 11 seconds faster.
Yeah, give or take. So, wow, really surprising little lead take there. But again, it's so close with these two teams, and that it doesn't really matter that, who came first, who came second. The fact is they're both going through, and this won't necessarily impact them for the rest of the tournament. We might see another Spires dungeon, but it might be radically different affixes, radically different level of Keystone. So we'll have to wait and see. But we're jumping over to who last. They've just dispatched of Devos as well, and they're looking at a 21:37. So around about what
time? That's also
around about a minute slower than Stiefbruders there. So a pretty solid time. We'll see where that fares with the rest of the teams. I did see just before Eclatax went up, we had the 6 screen up, and there was a team that had a full wipe, unfortunately. So I'll be interested to see where they're currently going to be at, and whether they're able to catch up with Eclatax or not. But we'll wait and see there.
Yeah, so it's really cool to see. So one of the teams, pvEheroes, actually beating the time of our our top team so far. And basically at the moment it's between 4 Dajns, 1 Swedes, who are still on Devos, and Eclatax, who are just now pulling the prideful before the Devos boss fight. So there is a Devos going down for 4 Dajns, 1 Swedes, and with that, I think even though
do they have to do some trash?
No, they might have to do some trash, actually, yeah. So a little bit more to do. They didn't want the prideful spawn upstairs, which is completely understandable, but that means, of course, there is some time left for Eclatax to get through this whole boss fight. We'll check in with them for a moment. Sabri actually dropping super low. The Bazook has to pump some crazy HPS here to keep his team alive. Those prideful takes at the end. They're hitting hard, but they are through with it. The first abyssal detonation should be coming in soon. With everyone top, they should be more than fine to survive this. Yep, it's not tyrannical, so it is all okay. Just dodge that charge and you are good. And from there, we will probably be going into the next or the first transition phase in just a moment. But all in all, I think 4 Dajns, 1 Swedes are gonna pull this one out.
Yeah, and I think that they I think that they must have had a little bit of trouble in this dungeon because they do have, what, a dozen or so deaths racked up on the board there. So they must have had a few issues along the way. But it looks like it's Eclatax that are the last team to complete this dungeon. I assume that must mean,
so.
I mean, we will get full solid confirmation that all the teams start at roughly the same time and that it is actually Eclatax that are the last to finish. But yeah, it might be that Eclatax are out of the tournament, which is surprising because I was expecting big things from them so far in the tournament. They were doing very, very well on the previous dungeons in the run-up to Spires. So who knows? Maybe this was just the dungeon that they weren't ready for. As we said, they have limited practice time. Maybe it was just this was the one that broke the camel's back, it seems. But I'm sure we'll be jumping over to the host desk and whatnot soon, and we'll break this all down for everyone.
Yeah, that was a interesting dungeon to say the least. So I really like this. Well, I don't really like this Aphis combination. I'd never want to play it myself, but from a cast perspective, I'll be quite honest here, that's pretty interesting.
And it is confirmed that was Eclatax that is going to be eliminated now. So now, what is that, 5 teams left here? The end of the day, so that is gonna be that team that gets eliminated. And yeah, that is a little bit surprising, but I feel like that's kind of what happens in tournaments such as these Dragnos. Same with like the Diabolus arena tournaments that get put on, when you take these players that are sort of used to a certain format and you kind of switch up the meta a little bit with the rule set like this, with sort of those surprise affix combinations. You get teams that you may expect to do really well, not really make it.
Yeah, I mean, this has been a tough day for some of the teams that were near the top of our bracket. Of our qualifying times, right, the Candle Holders and Eclatax were both in the top 4 out of 8 qualifying teams, and neither of them are making it into the 5-team cut tomorrow. So, yeah, I mean, a great performance, another way of thinking about it, though, from those teams that squeaked into the tournament itself. Those 7th and 8th seeded teams both staying alive here later into the day. That's a very cool thing to see, and it's a completely different texture from something like an MDI, where usually you don't see something like that happening.
Yeah, no, it also kind of throws back to the play safe way of things, because we already touched on it a few times. You have after 30-minute practice, you have one shot to play that dungeon, and after that, your time is taken, no matter how much you mess it up. And if you just play a route that's not super risky and just play safe, you can still get away with a decent time, and that might be good enough to just clutch that top 5 spot and not get eliminated, even if you're not the best speedrunner in the business.
Mm-hmm. And with that last dungeon, Dragnos, in your mind while you were watching, what were the major differences between the faster times and the ones that kind of came in at the last minute there? Like, where did we see teams struggle with that dungeon combination?
Yeah, I mean, this is just, I think, about the wipes mostly were what separates the teams that, were close to the bubble and the ones that got cut. For me, though, there was also that really interesting competition happening at the top of the times, right? Between pvEheroes and the Stiefbruders. I mean, watching those two teams battling back and forth, Stiefbruders as well, right at the end with that much faster last boss platform, but they just got there so much later than the pvEheroes. So even when they did Triple Angel, that wasn't enough to close the gap. And pvEheroes, if that had been the last map of our tournament, pvEheroes would be the winners over the Stiefbruders.
Yeah.
But it's not. That's not how our tournament works. So they will both get to live to fight another day. It's got to be something, though, that has got to be a little bit scary if you're the Stiefbruders and you came into this tournament, minutes faster in all the time trial runs. I think that's got to be a wake-up call.
For sure, you've got a little bit of a more leeway here as we are in sort of when there's more teams, but as the day goes further tomorrow, there's going to be less and less. Like, as we've said, every single round a team is going to get eliminated. So yeah, that's probably in the back of their mind, because it was very, very close. So we'll have to see where we do end up tomorrow. But that was actually the last match of the day. So overall, I mean, interesting turn of events. Interesting that we had some teams do very well that we kind of expected, and then, like Dragnos already mentioned, teams that were doing very well in the beginning when we were sort of getting those teams qualified here for the top 8 for these teams, maybe not perform quite the way that we thought.
I think the biggest thing for the Stiefbruders is They shouldn't get stuck.
Oh goodness. You were ready. We were ready with those. There's no Empyrean domain here.
Sorry.
You can't put on the sunglasses. No, I'm just kidding. That was good. That was good.
We literally just had the sunglasses dungeon, so I'm okay
It's
with
true.
that one.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's all good. I'll forgive you for that one. But let's take a look where we ended up here. We can look at the. I think we've got some times or something that we have. Did I hear that right? Production. Oh, break! Oh, we're going to break. All right, we're gonna head to a break real quick, and then after that, we're gonna maybe get a little bit more information on what went on.
Alright, I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Time to farm some dubs. Crap, I got a squad on my right.
I'm running in for backup.
Yo, Ron, he's right there in front of you.
Ugh. Sorry guys, it happened again.
Damn. This is the 10th one today.
Alright, I'm back.
Someone cover me.
Yeah, I see you. You got him, you got him, you got him! Yes! Yo, that's sweet.
Yeah, it is. We about to win this.
Guys, I can get used to this. HyperX alloy. Built strong because it has to be.
Hey everybody, and welcome back. We are all done with the dungeons for today, but we are going to discuss what just happened there real quick. We do have an interview as well for you in a second, so we can take a look at the leaderboards right now. We've got pvEheroes up there at the top, 4 Spires there, and then at number 2 we've got Steve Rooters, and then third was Who Asked for That round, and we're going to get everybody eliminated except for one team tomorrow, so we've got much more coming up for you guys on Sunday. And now we also do have a special interview for you guys, and I'm joined with Lasse. Unfortunately, we don't have a video for him, but we do have his audio. So hello, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello.
Hey. All right, well done so far today. How have you felt about your team's performance so far?
I think it's been quite good. Lots of us don't really play a lot of WoW anymore, except RPGs. so it's been weird coming back in, but it's been a lot of fun, and we're having a blast in the team. So it's really good.
What made you guys play RPGs? What made you guys decide to compete in a PvE tournament?
So we started playing RPGs because the gear was obviously very good on live servers. And then it was really fun, and you could play a 10-man group compared to 5, so you could play with more of your friends. That kind of broke the deal for us. And then we competed last time in Keystone Masters on various teams, right. Most of us, and this time around we decided to team up with this composition. And yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you guys are doing really well so far. What was your preparation if for this tournament leading up to us? Because you don't really know what you're going to be playing going into it. So how did you guys practice?
I mean, we have been practicing a few hours here and there whenever we had time. We also had some other prep. I know like each member prepped differently. Like the Vinefield played a lot of Peggle, Herudra writing his bachelor, and our healers taking English lessons. Okay. We have a bit of a language barrier in the team.
Yeah.
But we haven't really actually played a lot. We've just been fitting in a few hours here and there.
Gotcha. And as far as the format goes, has it been fun to compete with the different rule sets we've got?
We have enjoyed this a lot, yeah. Compared to last time when we played the FX Championship, where you had to swap your spec for each dungeon, and you had to make a 20 pages Google spreadsheet in order to get a hold on anything. Right. Then this has been a lot of fun, just jumping into it and just having fun and not really knowing what you're practicing. So we've definitely been enjoying that a lot.
Yeah, and you've got more coming up tomorrow. Are you ready? Are you nervous? Any team you're particularly worried about?
Nah, I think we're just rolling, settling for second place if that's how it's gonna be. But yeah.
I mean, you got a pretty fast time in that last one. I wouldn't count yourself just out just yet.
Some good luck in that one. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, just in case we don't see you again, you want to give any shout outs to your fellow teammates or anyone rooting for you guys at home?
Yeah, I guess I can do a shout out to our current guild. Most of us OG feedback, but I don't really think there's anyone who deserves a shout out. Nah, I can't come with anyone.
Okay.
When it comes to mind.
That's fair. Okay, cool. Well, thank you for this interview and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
All right, so I think we're going to get back with the analyst desk here. We can take a quick look at the Gauntlet leaderboard once again. That was Lasse from pvEheroes, pretty quick time, about 20-second difference as well from Steve Brudas. I'm going to get that right. I'm sorry, Lithia. You probably roll your eyes every time I say that German word wrong.
Nah, you're good. You're good. It's not a language you practice, so I'll let that slide.
I'll get it eventually. But yeah, it was a bit closer, I feel like, for this one, Dratnos. Do we feel like it was like, am I right in that assessment? It looks like this one was like a little bit closer in terms of time length compared to the last couple of ones.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the numbers, it certainly was closer and surprising as well, the little upset at the top. And we've kind of got the teams, at least in this dungeon, kind of separated into these 3 different buckets, right? You've got the pvEheroes and the Steve Brooders with that really blazing fast speed. Then you've got Who Asked and Frenchs+Ragnar that are also separated by 10 seconds. And then, right on the bubble there, 4 Danes, 1 Swede. That has got to be a scary place to be, because of course, musical chairs it's not something that you want to be. Is seeing somebody just slower than you get eliminated, and then you're next on the chopping block. But the good news for them is that this was a weird dungeon, and I'm sure that we will have some more weird stuff tomorrow. But I'm sure it'll be different weird, and that might give all of these teams a different opportunity to catch back in here, maybe get a combination of affixes and key level and dungeon that is more well-suited to their players. It's definitely going to be something to watch.
I'm really curious about a dungeon dungeon affix combination that just completely throws any current MDI route you can use out of the window, so that Steve Brooders are actually just sitting there and thinking, okay, what do we do now? Now we need to revamp the whole route, and I don't know. Maybe they can. They can steal from your YouTube video a bit, Dranos. But we'll see about that, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how some of these guys are taking their experience from MDI and trying to apply it here, and then how we saw Lasse talking about his team just now in that interview about how they've come together too as well. So it's interesting to see these guys taking their experience and applying it here, because like he was saying in that interview, you can't really practice for this. It sounds like they kind of just like show up and have a good time. So I'm really glad that these players are having a fun time, because it's been a really fun event to watch so far, Cyber.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've all been kind of acclimatizing to it a little bit. I mean, us casters, production, the players, the viewers, everyone coming in going, what's happening? Why are so many teams playing at once? When is the key going? Why can they restart? And I think that there is a lot of elements to this that are new for people, but I think that so far everyone seems very positive. Everyone seems to be enjoying it, from the players, the casters, the viewers, and we've had an absolute cat jamming playlist going on as well today. So just everyone's vibing, and that's good to see. And yeah, I think it's a really fun tournament so far. Cool to see some of these teams popping out. And the big thing for me is the fact that we've got these all-star teams, right? You know how you have in the NBA where you have the the regular season NBA teams, and then you have the Olympic squad, and the Olympic squad is just one of the best players from each of the best teams.
Right.
That's how it feels right now with for example, Steve Brudas and pvEheroes, where it's just you just got these absolute monsters just on these teams that they would never normally be on, and it's really cool seeing how they fare as a team and just seeing how they're conducting throughout this tournament.
Most definitely, that's a lovely analogy, because you're definitely right.
I watch sports.
Yeah, sports. Yeah,
sports stuff.
Sports stuff. Yeah,
with
right.
flex, but okay.
No, but it is great, especially when you see, like you were saying, that sort of mix of teams for any level of community tournament. I feel like that's why these events are so special, because you get to see them, try different strategies, maybe do something a little bit more risky. So it's great to see. So thank you everyone that has been supporting Diabolus Esports as well as Keystone Masters for this, because this is a great organization that has been putting on stuff like this. So thank you everyone for being here today as well. And before we sign off, quick shout out to HyperX exclamation giveaway in chat. If you guys want some details about that giveaway, you can enter that there. There's all kinds of stuff from the HyperX family that they have been supplying for us for this tournament. And also a thank you to Twitch and Blizzard as well for helping us with this tournament. And that is going to be it Make sure you guys are here, same time, same place tomorrow. Thank you so much and have a lovely rest of your day.
All right, I'm ready.
Let's do this.
Time to farm some dubs. Crap, I got a squad on my right.
I'm running in for backup.
Yo, Ron, he's right there in front of you.
Oh, sorry guys, it happened again.
Damn. This is the 10th one today.
All right, I'm back.
Someone cover me.
Yeah, I see you. You got him, you got him, you got him! Yes! Yo, that's sweet.
Yeah, it is. We about to win this.
Guys, I can get used to this. HyperX alloy. Built strong because it has to be.